What up, everybody? What's going on? What's going on? Welcome, welcome. It's go time. Welcome. Y'all know what time it is. It is time for an edition of Money Talk. Now, everybody knows that this particular edition is not for everybody. This conversation does not reach a broader audience as the other shows that are much more entertaining and fun. This one in particular is one of my favorite type of shows to do because it involves economics. It involves our experience with money and also with everything around us for the most part. And so these conversations for me are very much necessary, and I enjoy having these conversations. Last show, it was really rushed. I had a prior agreement to do a show with a podcast, so I was not able to really dive in deep, deep into the conversation. But this show, we gonna really get down to the nitty gritty. All right, this show gonna be different from what they giving y'all anywhere else. Listen, I love to do the other shows. We gonna do those, but whenever I get the opportunity to do these type of shows, I'm gonna take them. These shows are not listen. These shows are not very much supported like the other shows, which we know why, but that's all right. That's all right. We're not gonna let it discourage us. We gonna be here for the people that want to be here, and that's all I can do. So don't mind if it ain't 500, 900 people in here with us today. I don't care if it's five. This conversation that we about to have today, the things that I'm about to touch on today, you not really gonna get this really anywhere else. They're not gonna break it down this way. They're not gonna jump into it. They're gonna just let you guys go blind into life. But here we gonna really get into it. I think y'all gonna enjoy this conversation. I think y'all gonna be challenged. I'm gonna simplify as much as I can because I know that I think Kylie Bev said I don't want to hear all those acronyms and things like that. So that's not the goal, right? The goal is to try to bring as much awareness to what's happening around you so you can identify it. Whether or not you can actually take advantage of the situation, that's up for you to decide. But at least you have more knowledge of what's going on, right? That is my goal. My goal is to inform you guys, give y'all my perspective. It's a whole lot of other phenomenal people that talk about this type of stuff. If those people you rock with continue to get that information. So I appreciate everybody that's going to be here today because y'all know how these shows go. These are not the most supported shows. So for y'all that's here, I really do appreciate it, right? Because I would much rather have these conversations more than anything else, right? These are the ones you're going to be able to say, hey, now that we had this conversation, I know what's really going on around me. I won't let them trick me. I see what they're doing. I see the game. And then you can learn to find your niche, find where you get in, find where you have an advantage at, right? And that's the goal. So first thing I want to tell y'all, right? First thing I want to tell y'all is you got to play the game. You absolutely have to play the game. Do not be afraid to win. Do not be afraid to win the game. Because there's one thing that I'm going to guarantee y'all. And my lighting is a little bad, so I apologize for that. One thing I'm going to guarantee y'all is this. If you do not play the game, you are guaranteed to lose. If you do not play the game, you are guaranteed to lose because that's the only option you have. If you try to act like the game don't exist, if you try to not participate, it is an automatic loss. It's designed that way. So go ahead and play dumb and act like you don't know it's a game, and you will fail. But let me tell you, do not, and I mean it, do not be afraid to win. It's a lot of people telling you everybody can't win. Well, here's the solution to that. You ain't everybody. You ain't everybody. You ain't everybody, and everybody ain't got to win, but you can win. And we're going to get down to everything that's going on around here. We're going to get down to everything that we need to talk about. But it's time, and I'm going to try to do this more regularly. It's a little bit harder because y'all know that people don't love these shows. They love the other entertainment, and I love doing those too. But this is what I really love. Oh, shout out to Granville. He said, run it up. Yeah, you already know we about to get into it, bro. You already know we go. Listen, when I break this down to y'all this way, y'all gonna be like, damn, how do we really win? How do we really win when I break it down? What's going on? Who I got in? What's going on, Sherelle? Sal, what up? Bella, we definitely going for the victory. Mother J, we looking to get victory. The goal is to win. Spence, what up, bro? Lante, what up, fam? I got my guy Peter the investor. Salute to you. Chelsea's in here. I see the big dog, big bad boy. I see you. Empress Carmen, Nathan, what up? Brina, shout out to Brina. She always catching the replays. I appreciate it. Thanos, my brother. Thanos up in here. What up, bro? We about to get into it. And for everybody else, they just gonna have to. Oh, shout out. I see Daryl on. What up, man? I see everybody gonna just have to. They're gonna have to catch up because they're gonna be behind. Oh, shout out to my bro Cheeky. Listen. They gonna be behind if they don't catch up, right? Now, first things first, right? Because my guy AL hit me. He hit me on the inbox and he said, "You know what? Guess what's going on, brother?" He said, "Did you know that San Francisco is proposing to give $5 million?" I said, $5 million. $5 million to who? Oh, to all the black people. I said, what? I would love that money. I could do a whole lot with $5 million. But you know how it goes. They offer the $5 million, and then y'all know how y'all say the leaders of the black community. You know what they gonna end up doing? They gonna offer us the $5 million. And what do the leaders of the community gonna go and do? Could y'all imagine the people that we put in charge of the community? You know what they go and do? Let me show you what they go and do. This is what they go and do, right? Let me see if I can pull it up. 1 second. Right here. Yeah, there they go. You see that right there? The San Francisco NAACP opposes cash reparations to the descendants of enslaved people. They don't want us to get the money. They said no. They are in direct opposition to us getting that paper. It's a little messed up, but it is what it is. That's the game. Because see, what y'all really don't realize, as long as they don't have anything to argue and fight about because they gave us this money, these people start to lose jobs. Could you imagine if you know these people that always show up when the inequities happen and the racism happen, they pop up and like, we suing. Y'all know those attorneys that always pop up. Well, they don't want us to get this money because then they're gonna have less to talk about. They're not gonna be able to pop up and say, hey, this is wrong because we got that $5 million. Now, to be fair, now they did say instead of that, what did they ask for? Oh, this is what it pops down to. I don't know if let me see. You know, I'm not super technical like Cheeky and all them, but you know, it says right here. Let me enlarge that a little bit, just a tad bit, and I'll read it to you guys because I'm not the most skilled with this computer. But it says the city committee appointed proposed $5 million payouts to black adults who are descendants of enslaved people with a guaranteed annual income of $97,000 for 250 years. Now, when I saw that 250 years, I was like, I don't really like that. But then I was thinking about somebody that got life in prison 3 times over. So they got 400 years of life. I was like, damn. But $97,000 a year, we almost high value. Shoot, every black person in the city, we almost get the high value. we almost became high value, but that's the trick of the game, right? So that's what they end up rejecting, right? And it's just proposed. We don't know what's going to happen, but it is interesting, and that's something to pay attention to because if y'all know anything that happened in California tends to trickle down to everybody else. Let's just be real. Part of the pushback from some groups, they're saying, well, you know, people in the North, they wasn't really enslaved people anyway. And they said, nah, we not playing that game. So it's really interesting. We're going to watch how it play out, right? But I just want to start to show off so y'all know that when I get that $5 million, As Cheeky says, when I get that 5 million, I'm leaving YouTube. Y'all, I'm gonna act like I don't know nobody. I said, who? You said you know Cheeky better? I said, who? I said, this 5 million messing up my memory. I can't remember these YouTube. I don't know nobody. It's amazing what money it make you do, right? So I thought that was interesting. So shout out to AL. Shout out to Sway. He sent that to me too. I thought that was funny. But it's something I keep my eye on, right? But first comes the business is this. For a lot of y'all that are just starting to get on this journey, right? Really starting to try to understand money. You start to save a little money. You start to make a little money, right? The one thing y'all always hear is pay yourself first, right? Have y'all heard that? Pay yourselves first. Now, I'm going to be honest. I always used to hear that. Man, make sure you pay yourself first. And I hated when they said that because I had no clue what that meant. I had not the slightest clue. I said, pay yourself first. What does that mean? I got the paycheck. They gave me the money. I am me, right? This check got my name on it. It goes to me. I cash it. This is money in my hand. What are you talking about? Pay yourself first. What does that truly be, right? And for a long time, I had no idea what that meant. I was lost. I was confused. And I did the one thing that I have the ability to do that a lot of people do not, unfortunately, is I start to read stuff. I start to read. And a lot of you are familiar with this book. It's my personal favorite book. And I talk about it all the time, right? It is called The Richest Man in Babylon. And in that book, they talk about explicitly on what it means to pay yourself first, right? And once I read that book, I said, oh, the game about to change. I said, I could do that. I could do that. You mean pay myself first? Learn about compound interest? Okay, I could do that. Here's the key. When you're paying yourself first, the goal is this. The goal is to use a portion of your money to acquire something that ends up going up in value over time. Just to keep it simplified. I don't care if gold, what's the price of gold right now? Who can pull up the price of gold for me right now? It's usually hovering around probably $2,000, $2,500, give or take, right? Somebody pull up the price of gold for me. That way I can kind of know how much it costs, right? Because I don't know what it is on the top of my head, right? But let's just say, because I got my guy Spitz, he said about 2,000, right? Here's the goal. Don't just save money to save money. You cannot save yourself to wealth. We all know that, right? You've either figured that out, you've either heard it, you've either tried it and see it didn't work. See, what you need to do is you save enough money to acquire an asset, to acquire something that goes up in value. That's the only way to pay yourself first, because this is what a lot of people get wrong. When they say pay yourself first, they're not talking about Aaron on March 15th, 2023. They're talking about Aaron 40 years down the line. See, I'm paying the older version of myself. That is the goal. The goal is to pay the older version of myself, right? And why is that so important? I'm going to break down why that's so important, right? Now, how many of you understand that? Well, how many of you know which one is worth more? Which one has higher value? $1 today or $1 tomorrow? Which one of those have greater value? Which one is more valuable? $1 today or $1 tomorrow? How many of you know the answer to that? Yeah, that's the price to go. Thank you, Peter the Investor, because I know you're going to look up the exact numbers. But that's the key. $1 today or $1 tomorrow. The question is, which one is more valuable, right? Yeah, y'all not going to like this answer. Yep, y'all not going to like this answer. I can already see where it's going. Now, here's the most important part. $1 today is more valuable than $1 tomorrow because the dollar loses value every single day. Here's what you guys were thinking. A dollar invested today is worth more in the future than a dollar invested tomorrow, right? The goal is to invest it. So you can get future value by investing that dollar, because it doesn't matter what you do with a dollar today or a dollar tomorrow, it's going to go down in value. The goal is to invest the dollar. A dollar invested is more valuable by starting today instead of tomorrow. So when they say pay yourself first, it's because if you start today, every single day you give an opportunity for your money to compound, right? That's the goal. Now, I don't care if you have to save up to buy a property. I don't care if you have to save up to buy a piece of gold. I don't care whatever. If you have to become the lender, right? Because in the book, The Rich Man Bama, it talks about the money lender, right? Gold, the money lender, right? And then when you lend your pieces, your precious value to them, they pay you interest. And as long as you allow them to hold that money, they continue to pay you interest, right? And that's why they talk about dividend stocks so much, right? The reason why it's such a huge desire for dividend stocks is because not only can you place your money in a stable company, but they also pay you every single quarter, or let's say semi-annually, more money on the cash that company is producing, and you can compound that money for 30 years. See, that's why they love those. That's why Warren Buffett loves those dividend stocks. He loves that compounding interest. Yeah, that way your money makes money and continues to make money. That is the goal of compound interest. However, your money can compound either way. So even companies that don't pay a dividend, your money, as long as your money's grown with the company, it will compound over time. But the compound interest, they say that's the ninth wonder of the world, right? Something like that, eighth, ninth, whatever. So the goal is to pay yourself first. You are paying yourself in the future. You are buying something, whether that's gold, silver, platinum, whatever it is, so that 20, 30 years from now, it is more valuable then than it is today. That's the goal. It is more valuable in the future than it is today. That's how you pay yourself. They're actually talking about you in the future tense. Your money means absolutely nothing right now. You have no idea. It's all about going to the future, right? So every time you spend a dollar, you take away from your future self. I want you to look at it like that. Every time you waste money on something that you do not need. Now, a lot of y'all can go to your closet right now and say, I should probably sell this on eBay, but I would rather donate it because I'm too lazy to actually sell something. That's the truth. But that's the truth. You have to make sure you're acquiring things that allow your future self to have value. I don't care. Buy gold, buy real estate, buy stocks, buy anything, buy a bit, start a business, anything that has the ability to generate money for your future self. That is the goal of paying yourself first. Do not, and think about it like anytime you spend any money on things that do not add value to your future self, you cost your future self money. And money invested becomes more valuable over time. Not a dollar tomorrow that you hold. If you hold a dollar today and hold it to tomorrow, it has no value. The dollar invested, converted from the dollar to an asset is what will change your life. But you have to understand, if you waste money, you take away from your future self. That's the key. So when people say pay yourself first, it's very important that you are saving to acquire an asset that can go up over time. I don't care if it's land. I don't care if you got to put a cow on that land to get all the tax breaks. Y'all, well, that's next level stuff. Y'all can talk to Anton about that. I'm just giving y'all a simplistic breakdown of how you should look at things. And I do apologize. I am still getting over this bad cough. I've been streaming a lot, so we're going to grind through this because I really want to talk about what I want to talk about today, right? But that's the key. Pay yourself first. I could talk about that, Venus. I was just instructed to take my money out of Wells Fargo because they're supposedly closing branches in May. Have you heard about this? I have heard about this. I will cover this a little bit later, Venus, but I understand your question, but I will tell you this: closing branches is not a cause for fear. Because, well, the one thing you should know is that at one time, Wells Fargo had the most branches in America. They had the most branches. They had more branches than anybody else, right? And because they had more branches than anybody else, they had a lot of employees. And employees are the most expensive things to overhead, right? B of A is which the biggest bank that Warren Buffett invests in. And if anybody knows about Warren Buffett, he loves banks. There's a reason why, because he understands that banks are the entry point to putting money in the system. You cannot introduce money in the system. You cannot get money to your brokerage account, nothing like that, without having a depository. So, God, this sore throat is killing me. I'm going to be drinking a lot of water. So, in short, that is not a cause for fear, but I will explain to you as I get into the banking prospects in just a moment. So, I wouldn't worry too much about that, honestly. Not about closing branches, right? But here's the bigger point. Yeah, don't worry about liquid. That's not important. So here's the bigger point, right? Well, I don't want to let me make sure I scale back. I don't want to jump too far. Well, it's all right, business. Don't worry about it. I'll get back on that in just a second. So the key thing is pay yourself first. That's what I want to drill to you guys. The most important thing: invest in your future. Pay yourself first. Buy some type of asset that increase in value over time. That's the simplest way to understand what paying yourself truly means, right? Now, I really want to get into this other aspect, right? Get some cough drops. I've been having so many cough drops over the last 2 days. It has helped. It has helped, but because I stream so much, it's been raining. My body is just beat up. I'm gonna just be honest with you. I'm beat up, but I don't know how to slow down, and I don't know how to slow down. Right, so that's what it is. Here's the key. This is what we're gonna get into. This we're gonna change it. I want here's the most important thing you got to understand. Wealthy people and politicians are not going to finance your freedom. Not intentionally. They're not going to intentionally finance your freedom, okay? Their system only works if the wealthy, for them to stay wealthy and for the politicians to continue to get your votes. You know what must happen? No, I don't have a snotty nose. There's a sore throat. There's a difference. They must control you with fear, right? I'm going to need a lot of water for this show. Maybe something hot, but they must control you with fear, right? So here's the key. Here's the key to understanding that, right? Politicians are going to push fear to making you think wealthy people are your enemy. And the wealthy people are going to pretend like they are. Yeah. Tax the wealthy. You hear Warren Buffett all the time say, go ahead and tax me, right? Because they know you're not going to change the tax system. They know that's not going to change. But the politicians will always tell you, we're going to tax the wealthy. They're the problem. They're not truly the problem. The problem is knowledge, and the problem is not playing the game, right? So this is what we're going to get into. We're going to talk about the economic cycle, right? I've warned you guys to watch the video, how the economy machine works, right? Y'all not going to pay attention to that. Yeah, I know we're going to get through it. Key lime water, whatever. I don't know. We're going to get through it. But we have the economic cycle, which is we have what we would call the expansion and contraction, right? It's important. The expansion and contractions, right? Now, this right here is about to throw y'all all the way off what I'm about to teach y'all right now. What I'm about to teach y'all right now is going to blow your mind, but it's going to be so simple to explain. Who do you think puts mom and pop businesses? What makes you okay when you have small business people in America? Who do you think put them out of business? Who do you think puts these small businesses out of business? Who do you think does that? That's the question I have for y'all. Who do y'all think puts small business out of business? Who do you blame for that? All right. Here's a short answer to you. Whenever you guys ask for more money, whenever you guys ask for more money, you put those businesses out of business. So, for example, right? Shout out to Robert because that is exactly what it is, right? Oh, no, no, no. It's not bigger corporations, but I'm going to tell you the game right now, right? It's when people get upset enough so that they complain about wages. So, when we have an expansion, when the economy is booming, we're selling more things than ever. We got more money flowing. We got more jobs than ever. That's an expansion, right? Nobody really complains about wages like that. Yeah, on a normal day-to-day base, we complain. They should pay us more money, but we never stop going to work. We never stop our day-to-day life. We continue to process it, right? That's in the expansion. When everything's booming, they hiring everybody. Hey, we got job for you. Job for you is jobs everywhere. Ain't nobody getting fired. They hiring too many people. You got people at your job like, why they pay you? Oh, I'm not wrong, T. Will. Trust me, I'm not wrong. But you got to be patient to listen first, brother. So here's the key. While we're in expansion, everything is booming. Big companies spending more money than they should. They're not worried about nothing stopping. Y'all getting promotions. Everything's going boom, whoop-de-doo. Everybody's happy, right? It's the contractions that cause the issue. It's when we contract that cause the issue, right? So what happens? How do these mom and pop stores go out of business? Here's the simple answer, right? You guys are familiar with the bank that just went under, right? Let me see if I have. I absolutely should have. Oh, yeah. Let me pull that up. Hold on 1 second. Because that was a very interesting thing. And I'm going to teach y'all about that right now. Here we go. Let me see if I can pull it right here. Give me 1 second. Oh, it's not that they just not supporting me. It's not just that. Pull it. Here we go. Yeah, we're going to pull it right now. See right here. Where is it at? Come on. Here it is right here. I got it. I want to show y'all something real quick so y'all can understand how this game really works. It's key. I got a lot of screens up for this conversation. That's why. A lot of them. But here's the short answer, and I'm going to break this down for you guys. Now, you see where it says the SVB exec sold 84 million in stock over the past 2 years. Huge outrage, right? The point of that is this. When the economy is booming, they collecting their money right or wrong. They collecting their money right or wrong. They're going to get in, get the bag. And when we have the contraction, right? When the economy's not booming, when we're having issues, they already got their money, right? So y'all know, because I know somebody covered earlier that they sold stock within the last few weeks, right before they had the bankruptcy issue, right? Here's the key. This is a key part about them selling that stock, right? And you guys thinking they should probably go to jail, right? I know you guys are. You guys are probably thinking they should go to jail. You know what that says right there? Now, Becker, who is basically the CEO, one of the people that run the company, right? His shares were sold as part of a scheduled program known as the 10B51 plan. Those 105B plan allows insiders to schedule stock sales ahead of time to reduce concerns over trading on insider information. Do you know what that means? They have a system in place so that it's an automatic sale, so that y'all can't come back and say, oh, you did that because of insider trading. No, actually, it's an automatic sale. We have it preset up. It would have happened regardless. So now when you have to prove insider trading, it's very difficult to do because they have a built-in system in which it's supposed to keep them out of trouble. It's legal jargon. So even though we all know what they really did, right? We all know what they really did. There's a legal loophole, and you have to prove they're guilty, even though they have a system in place to prevent against so-called insider trading. So good luck sending them to jail is the point. They got their bag. They when the expansion was happening, they ran the bag up. When the contraction happened, they had already sold a lot of stock. So cool, you have it. You got it. And we ain't tripping off of that. We got our money. We getting up out of there. And we ain't going to jail because we followed the rules. Who makes the rules? Who makes the rules? Y'all favorite politicians who regulate them. They make the rules. They really best friends. And the only time this happens, this is very important for this contraction stuff to happen, right? Whenever there's a presidential election coming up, whenever there's huge changes in the Senate, things like that, that's when they want to put fear out there. See, I've taught you already that banks fail all the time. Smaller banks all the time, no big deal. But this bigger bank, that brings fear to y'all eyes. Even though most of y'all don't have any money in that bank, you're still scared, right? It's going to push up fear in y'all because y'all don't have any understanding of what's going on around y'all. So y'all like, man, this is crazy. Now, what did I tell y'all happens when there's fear of so-called smaller banks? You guys give your money to the big banks. That's the game. Politicians run on pushing the fear of all this stuff happening, and then the companies get bigger and bigger during the expansion and the contraction, right? So let me give y'all an example, right? If you ask for more money, wealthy people are never going to actually give you more money. What you're going to do is you're going to put out their competitors. So that means the more businesses that exist out there is how you get better pricing. So the more companies that exist, the lower the pricing can be because there's more competition. We have more options. But if you work at one of those smaller businesses and you say, we deserve a living wage, those smaller businesses can't pay them. Those smaller businesses can't pay them. So when they finally going through what we call the voting stage and we're trying to get votes, they'll say we're going to give you a livable wage. We need to raise the wages, right? It's the have and the have-nots, the battle, right? Because when everything was booming, nobody was complaining. Now that things are looking a little murky, everybody like, we need more money. Nobody want to go back to work. Why? Nobody wants to go back to work. Makes no sense. Of course it makes sense. Because once they give you the actual wages, is when they put these other companies, their competitors, out of business. Small businesses will go away if you guys keep asking for more money. Wealthy, filthy, rich people will never give you more money. Call them greedy, call them whatever you want. They won't do it. They're never going to give you money. Okay, so pay attention. When we have an expansion and everything is booming, inflation runs very small. Inflation is very tiny. You almost don't know. You guys don't see any price differences year over year. It's really tiny. It's not enough for you to notice that these eggs cost $8, how it's going right now, right? Because when everything's booming, inflation is low. The economy is running what they would say perfectly. So you guys don't pay attention to it. Slow things down. Businesses start to fail. Prices rise. The small businesses fail, not the big ones. So the banks get bigger. Let me show you this other stuff real quick so you guys can understand what I mean by mom and pop stores. Let me really show you exactly what it means, right? So let me show you this article, and oh, it gets deeper and deeper, man. It gets deeper and deeper. So let me pull this up real quick. And I want you to pay attention to some really important language here. All right, here we go. Right here. Let me see if I can make that a little bit bigger. I got to hang out with these tech people a little bit more for me to really get on my game, right? But if you guys can't see that, I will read it either way. So you guys will probably see it a little bit better. But I want you to pay attention to this. See where it says right there is this. Warner Bros. Discovery, which is it's pretty much like a spinoff of AT&T. They own Warner Bros. Discovery. They merged together maybe last year or the year before that. And then they spun that company off and they have the ownership in it, right? It says here, because Warner Bros. Discovery is looking to get out of regional sports network business. This is important. Pay attention to that regional aspect, right? See that word right there? That word right there is regional. These are the smaller networks in that particular region, right? They're not national. I want you to look at regional as like the mom and pop stores, the smaller businesses, right? AT&T, they want out of that. Now, mind you, Silicon Valley Bank is regional. I'm trying to show you guys how to identify indicators and connect them for where it makes sense, right? Now, mind you, that bank that y'all all freaking out about, it's regional. It's a regional bank. And they're trying to get out of these regional businesses. They're trying to get out of it. And read what it said. Let me show you what it says, right? It says the media entertainment giant, which also owns Turner Sports, right? And that's TNT. Whenever you see like a basketball game on TNT, that's Turner Sports, right? They sent a letter to the sports teams who games it carries that it does not have the cash to pay for the upcoming right fees and that WBD will not fund the shortfall. The company proposes to hand control of the RSNs over to the team and leagues and warns that if they can't execute on a transfer, Chapter 7 bankruptcy is on the table. It's on the table. It literally is on the table. And what I'm trying to get you to identify is all they're doing is pushing these smaller businesses out of the way so you have less options. So you have to go to the bigger businesses, right? Whenever there's a downturn, this is what happens. It happens in the uptrend as well, but whenever there's a downturn, this is what happens. M&A, mergers and acquisitions. You guys are going to see a lot of this. You're already seeing with the smaller bank, they have to sell off their UK arm. Somebody's going to come in and buy them for $1 a share. Same thing that happened in 08, right, with Washington Mutual, right, which is a much bigger bank at the time. But, well, I don't even want to say that's bigger than that bank, but that's the point. Somebody going to buy them for $1 or $2 a share. And this is what you guys have to understand. When these bigger corporations buy them, they buy them pennies on the dollar. But what they acquire is real estate, intellectual property, and they acquire the infrastructure. Think about it like this. I'll give you an example. Facebook acquired Instagram for, I don't know, what was it, like $1 billion? I want to say they acquired it for $1 billion. They generate way more than $1 billion now through Instagram. But what Instagram did before they were bought by the bigger company, which eliminates competition, they built the infrastructure. They had the intellectual property. And everything that they already had set up went to that bigger company to monetize. So it lowers the competition. The bigger company takes an already established business and runs with them. That's all you're about to watch happen is a bunch of companies at the top eat up all the mom and pop shops. And ain't nothing you can do about it. So when a downturn happens, they give you distractions. White cop kills black man. Oh, big bank fails. People, y'all panicking about money that y'all don't even understand. Y'all panicking about money that y'all don't even understand, about banks y'all don't even understand. All that's going to go is from one bank to another bank. And y'all going to panic. And while y'all lost and confused, y'all heard of the wealth transfer, right? Y'all not even exactly sure what that means. But when they buy these smaller companies for pennies on the dollars and get that infrastructure, get that intellectual property, get that real estate, that's what they truly mean by the wealth transfer. Most of us ain't going to participate in that because we don't have the ability to participate at the level that they can. That's all it really means. You're watching the biggest wealth transfer happen right in front of your eyes. But you're not going to be able to take advantage of it because they're distracting you with things that don't really matter. Half these banks y'all don't know nothing about. Let's just be honest. And all y'all going to do is move that money to the bigger banks. Don't let them distract you. And don't let these politicians tell y'all we got these antitrust laws in place to prevent monopolies, right? Well, in a downturn, all they have to do is tell you this. Well, we can't really compete. Let me give you an example, right? Let me give y'all the game right now. Let me give you this example right now, right here. This is a good one right here. Here we go. Because I know a lot of y'all are familiar with this. A lot of y'all will be familiar with this right here. I can pull it. Let me see if I can pull it. Can y'all see what that says? I'll tell you what it says. It says here, Kroger agrees to buy rival grocery company Albertsons for $24.6 billion. Pay attention to that. Kroger, which is the second largest retail grocer, will buy. What is the size? I want to say they was the fourth. Hold on. Let me see if it's on this. I'm sure they might actually have it on here somewhere. Let me see. If not, it's probably, it'll be somewhere else on here. It might not say it, but here's the market share. Actually, can y'all see that? Let me see if y'all can see the market share, right? This is the market share, right? Walmart, Kroger, Costco, Albertsons. So you're basically looking at the top 4 food retailers, etc., right? You got the number 2 buying the number 4. What do you think that's going to do? Consolidate competition? They're going to tell you, we're going to be able to give you better prices. We're going to be able to give you better prices. That's what they're going to tell you. That's what they're going to tell y'all. But what they're really doing is eliminating competition, waiting a few years, and then they're going to be able to control pricing. This is what y'all don't understand. When y'all ask for more money and y'all put the mom and pops businesses out, y'all force them to go into foreclosure and force them not to be able to have the ability to keep the doors open for the big companies to come in, buy them, wait a few years and act like, oh, we have to raise prices to compete. It's for pricing control. The less companies we have, the less competition we have out there. And every time we ask for more money, we are going to bankrupt the system. We are doing it if we ask for more money. They're never going to give it to us. Once we ask for more money, what's the first thing that happened? Inflation ran rapid. They introduced more money into the system to try to calm us down because we was acting rowdy. We was acting up. So they flushed the market with some fake money, which caused inflation to run rapid, which then causes us to say we need more money. We need more money. And then in that process, the companies that cannot afford to keep us must sell to the bigger companies. And they will keep prices low for the first 2, 3, 4 years. And then in year 5, year 6, They will bump those prices up and say we have to compete with our competitors, which is the other 4 companies, because it was 8. Do the history. Go back and look it up. It'd be 8, 9, 10 companies. Y'all know the small companies. Y'all be like, and then they gone. The Radio Shacks, the Fries, whatever y'all want to call them, they go out of business. And then there's just 4 left. And then those 4 say, hey, we're competing with Walmart. We're competing with Costco. We're competing with Kroger. There is competition. You're right. But they all in cahoots because they ate the smaller businesses up to where you can go to that little smaller market and say, hey, they got better deals here. But once you ask for more money, inflation happens. Those smaller businesses must raise prices. They can't afford to stay around the lower prices that Walmart can charge. So you'll switch your business over to the Walmart, put that mom and pop store out of business. They have to sell to the Walmarts. And then in a few years, they raise prices after they consolidate the market. That's exactly what they do. If you don't believe me, I'll show you more evidence. And they're going to run the bag up. Oh, yeah, they're going to run the bag up. Listen, man. Listen, let me show y'all. Y'all think this is a game. Y'all think I'll be making this up, right? Check this out. Check this one out. I don't know. Let me see if I can pull this. Let me see here. Can y'all read that? So what it says here is that consumers and also, right? This is important. Consumers and also the DOJ tried to block the Kroger and Albertsons merger, and they try to block a special $4 billion dividend. Because right before Albertsons started the merger, they were going to pay a special dividend of about $4 billion, right? To all the execs, to the shareholders, all that good stuff, right? Well, they tried to block it. They said, we're going to sue. We're going to sue. Well, you can try to sue if you want. You can try to sue if you want, but you know what's going to happen? I'll briefly read this. They filed a lawsuit in federal court seeking to halt the controversial $4 billion dividend by Albertsons to shareholders in the run-up to the merger, right? They try to block it. That's what we have the DOJ in place for, right? They're there to prevent these so-called monopolies from happening and all these things, right? So they went and sued, and their job is to prevent this from happening. Like, hey, stop it, right? But in a downturn, and when the markets are down and you guys not paying attention no more, and y'all worried about where y'all money going, y'all worried about who y'all gonna vote because these evil, wealthy people try to hurt y'all, when these politicians need to get in the office, so they got to turn y'all against the evil, wealthy people, and y'all thinking they gonna give y'all more money. They not. They just gonna run inflation up, and that money ain't gonna be worth as much, but it looks better on paper, right? They tried to sue them. They tried to sue them because they actually have the power to do it, right? They actually have the power to do it, right? Now, check this out. A few months later, this is what happens. Can y'all see that? It says here, Albertsons cleared to pay controversial dividend ahead of the Kroger merger. You see? You see that? They couldn't stop them. They couldn't stop them. They got to clear. We get in that bag. They get in the bag. You can't stop them from the merger going through. Yeah, they got the bag. And I'll read it because I know you guys probably can't see that, right? It says here, the Washington State Supreme Court has brushed aside the final remaining legal hurdle. The final remaining legal hurdle in the way of a $4 billion dividend by Albertsons to its shareholders ahead of the proposed merger with rival Kroger. Well, they're not rivals no more. Kroger going to go ahead and buy them up. They're going to split the bag and run the money up. It's all a game. Don't get lost in none of these games. Don't get lost. Everything is about when y'all ask for more money, you have to pay attention. If you ask for more money, you put mom and pop shops out of business. What you do is actually more effectively, y'all don't know y'all doing this. You actually allow these companies to go under. This is why it's bad. To go under, and these huge corporations buy them for pennies on the dollars, and they get all the intellectual property. They get all the real estate. They get all the customers that come along with it. All of that business model, they get all that for pennies on the dollar, and they bring their already infrastructure that exists. They bring their already team that exists and just go, all right, you already know what to do. Put our game plan, use that building, use their connections here. We get all that. That's all they do. Y'all don't believe me? Oh, I got more. Because I told you we got time today. I'm going to break this all the way down for y'all, right? All the way down for y'all. Let me show you another way that these companies run the bag up on your head, right? And I'm going to show you the griminess in which they do things, right? Hold on. Let me see if I can pull this visual up, right? Man, they'd be doing this right before y'all. Y'all familiar with Ryan Reynolds? This guy right here? Yeah, he's the owner of Mint Mobile, in which they just sold their company to T-Mobile. And now, if y'all familiar who T-Mobile are, they're pretty much one of the top 4 telecommunications company, right? Well, they just bought another smaller company, right? And y'all don't have Mint Mobile, right? But a lot of people that do, they do have it, right? They get the cheaper deals, they get the lower pricing, and we don't want it. We have the T-Mobiles, we have the Verizon, we have the bigger names, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people have these smaller companies and they own the cheaper plans. But what happens when T-Mobile goes and buys Mint Mobile? What do you think happens? Let me tell you how they run this game on y'all, man. Oh my gosh, it's so messed up. Let me just read this real quick. Telecommunications giant T-Mobile announces buying the budget cell service provider Mint Mobile, best known for its ads with actor and part owner Ryan Reynolds. The cash and stock deal, which includes 2 other brands, is worth $1.35 billion. Now check this out. T-Mobile CEO Mike Silvert, I don't know how to say his last name, Silvert, whatever, Wednesday said that the company would use its size and resources. See, y'all can't even, man. I don't even know if I can make that a little bit bigger. Let me see if I can. Man, y'all have no idea how crazy this is. Y'all have no idea how crazy this is. The T-Mobile CEO says Wednesday that the company would use its size and resources to supercharge Mint Mobile, which uses T-Mobile's wireless networks, and offer plans for as little as $15. They offer plans for as little as $15. And what that does is when the DOJ that goes in to want to look through these deals, you know what they're going to do? They're going to say you're hurting the little people. And you know what T-Mobile is going to say? No, we're not. No, we're not. We're actually helping them. We only charge $15 a month. That's why we took this company. And after they buy that company, and for a few years, they're going to leave those prices the same. And for a few years, they're going to leave those prices the same. And then after a few years, they're going to bump those prices up. Why? Because they control pricing. Because we're taking away competitors. Y'all not listening. Y'all not listening. They're taking away competitors. That's what they're doing. They're taking competitors away, and we're helping this happen. We're literally helping them do this. So we think that we're fighting back against the wealthy, but we're handing them the wealth transfer. We're handing them businesses. We're handing them real estate. When we go and request more money, we think that we're being underpaid, and we might be, but this is the domino effect. We make them richer. And they play it off like they're doing charity. Oh, yeah, well, we care about the little people. We're going to take care of them. After a few years, they control the pricing. They do it go back and check all the history. They do it every time. They control the pricing. That's what they do. They'll wait a few years. They ain't got to run the bag up in the first year, second year. They know they've been watched by the DOJ. But after y'all vote for a new president, and y'all mind, because remember, y'all know the 24-hour news cycle, right? After about 24, 48 hours, 72 hours, y'all don't care about these problems anymore. The issues that's going on with the banks, they may last a few weeks, maybe. But once we over that and they tell you, oh, we got everything under control, this bank's going to do this, They gonna drop. Listen, they gonna put something else over your head. They gonna try to confuse you with something else. It's all about consolidation of the wealth, control of other companies, falsely telling us they're giving us more money, and price control. Why do you think they can run these egg? If everybody had an egg company, they couldn't charge $8. You got to pay attention to the game, man. You have got to pay attention to the game that they're running on us. You got to pay attention to how they're taking advantage of us. That's how the monopoly works. I don't know how to stop y'all from running into these problems because it's a game. And it's never going to stop, but you have to be aware of it. Yeah, I know the Aetna and the CVS merger. Yeah, I remember that one. Absolutely. But the key is to understand that we're in the game. We're playing the game. We're absolutely playing the game. And you guys have to know everything around y'all. Every time we complain, they buying up something. Look, anytime we put pressure on other companies, look at the airlines, right? So-called something happened, grounded the airlines. Some of the other ones survived somehow, some way. And then all of a sudden, they're selling Spirit. They're selling this airline. This airline been merged. All it is reconsolidation, right? The market is going to consolidate itself once we get into a system. What should we call it? We'll call it a system correction. Once we ran the bag up too much, all these rich people got filthy rich. They cashed out their stock. They moved it over to another asset class that's not going to be hurt right now. They're not going to be impacted by now because they can sit on money and they can sit on assets for years. They can borrow against assets, buy something at a cheaper, depressed price, sit on it for years, run the price back up and say, we control it. We control the pricing. And they're going to do this every single time. I showed you with the groceries. I showed you with telecommunications. They're going to do it in almost every sector. Social media will happen. You see what they try to do with TikTok? They're trying to force them to sell their operations. Listen, everything is about control, consolidating the market. And here's what you really got to understand why they do this, right? Let me break down why these companies buy these other companies. We'll start with T-Mobile, right? When they purchase Mint Mobile, what they do is they get that users. So let's just say, I'll use an arbitrary number because I don't know the specifics. I got to read into that deal even more, right? Let's just say Mint Mobile has 500,000. No, I'm sure they'll have way more than that. Let's just say they have. Let's use an arbitrary. Let's just say they got 20 million users, right, on that particular service device. So if you listen to the reports, what they look for is how many people use your service. How many people use T-Mobile? Well, we got 131 million. Now, this is an arbitrary number, but they'll just say it's about how many Americans do we have? About 400 million, roughly. Let's just say 80 to 100 million people use T-Mobile, right? And they need to show their numbers increasing year over year. So once they get to a point where they've grown as much as they can grow, the only thing they can do is acquire more companies to show an increase in revenue source or an increase of user base. So whenever and you have to understand how these companies generate money and how they report to Wall Street, because Wall Street makes their decisions based upon the industry and how the company actually sells themselves to Wall Street. So they're going to say, well, we just got 20 million more users. Yeah, with the purchase of Mint Mobile, we just got 20 million more users. 20 million more users. Can you imagine 20 million people use Mint Mobile and they add it onto the T-Mobile so-called sheet, and they'll present to investors, yeah, we're growing. We have 20 million more people to use, 20 more million people we can touch. And they present that to the investors and say, that's how we're going to grow the business. And they buy it for pennies on the dollar. And we help them do this. How crazy is this? We're helping them do this. We're literally setting the system up for them to win. We can talk about, you can talk about the Walt Disney, the 21st Century Fox merger, all those things. Misty Blue, I'm still a little bit under the weather, but we don't stop the grind. We don't stop the work, right? Because I want to have these conversations. And I want you guys to realize what's going on around y'all. I've already showed y'all, and literally at this point, if I haven't proven to y'all how politicians use fear, the bigger banks are going to get bigger. If y'all don't believe me, go look at the market capitalization of a big bank 20 years ago. See what the size of it. Google B of A market capitalization in 2001, 2010, and watch what it is now. They're just going to get bigger because your fear of where you store your money goes there. Now, here's the part where we get out of the banks and we'll talk about the aspects of telecommunications. If y'all ever looked at how much revenue is generated on advertising every year, these Mint Mobile cannot afford to compete with T-Mobile. Why? Because they have to advertise. How the hell are we going to know what Mint Mobile is if they can't send advertising dollars to us? If they can't afford to have an advertising budget to compete with a T-Mobile, an AT&T, a Verizon, how are we going to know they exist unless they're in a smaller regional area in which they already have, some advertising in that small city, and they're slow, and they have salespeople because salespeople are phenomenal, and they get you to buy into them. Y'all will never know who they are. Y'all will never know who they are. They cannot compete. They don't have enough money to get in your face. Y'all ever seen when they say the best, any publicity is good publicity, bad publicity, don't matter, anything is good? Well, if you can't get in front of the camera and people don't know who you are, you know who really talks about this? What's his name? Grant Cardone. Y'all probably have been seeing Grant Cardone everywhere. He owns about $1 billion in real estate. He really don't need to talk to us no more. He got enough money to leave us alone. But he wants to always be in our face. He wants you to know who he is. He is the advertising. And that's why Mint Mobile was using Ryan Reynolds' star power to get attention. Here's the problem. It wasn't enough to compete once we get into a downturn. Does not matter. They can't afford to pay employees. They can't afford to pay these salespeople. The overhead is too much. Us, the people, are the biggest cost of most corporations. We're the biggest cost. So when Venus is asking about, Wells Fargo and them closing branches and things like that, well, really think about it. Bank of America was the very first one to get extra attention from Warren Buffett because they were already focused on the digital revolution more than the other banks were. B of A was ahead of everybody else in the digital revolution. B of A would, I don't know, can I say that? Yeah, I think I can say that. B of A would charge you to talk to a teller. Depending on the type of account you got, they charge you to go talk to a teller because they want to force you to use the digital things. They want to force you to use all the mobile thing. They want to force you to use the ATMs. They will do whatever they can to get the digital aspect part of their business first because they were first in line. It's the business model. So they have to force you there. So now you got Wells Fargo with all these branches. They got way too many. The overhead is too much. So they have to scale back. But if you look at Venus, if you look at how many branches they actually have, they still have a lot of branches. Chase is actually acquiring more branches. So because Chase is considered the best run bank, the big bank, etc., you have to understand that they're expanding, right? Because they're using their run to run it up. They're expanding. They're getting more. They want more. They want to be in your face more than ever. They want to show up, hey, look at us. Yeah, that's us. We got a branch everywhere. They're going to run it up while they're number one. But check the history. Y'all ever seen one of those? Have you ever seen one of those YouTube things where they show the value of companies over time? I forget what it's called. but they just show you the pricing of companies, the size of the biggest companies in America, and they just do the little graph chart in 2007, 2008. All of these banks have had a shot at number one. Wells Fargo was number one. B of A was number one. Citibank was number one. Chase was number one. They just take turns. Listen, check it out. Check that bar graph or whatever it's called. Check it out. They all get their turn. It's a cycle and it's a game. So I wouldn't worry too much about that business per se. You could always continue to read up on it, but I'm going to give you the secret now. The bigger banks are going to get bigger. All these small banks, those small black banks that y'all want, they can't compete, especially in a downturn. So the next chance you're going to have to get to rock out with these smaller banks is when the fear goes away, and that's usually when we get back to an expansion. Right now we're in a contraction. We're trying to control inflation. So we're trying to construct. We're basically we're trying to slow down our economy. Like, this is too much. Slow down. This is too much. So you have to understand, a lot of different companies, depending on the industry, are doing different things. So the banks are about to get bigger, because the one thing that you're also more fearful of is the money. Venus, you have to put your money in one of the banks, and I'm gonna just tell you now, whether it's Wells Fargo, Chase, Citibank, or B of A, they're very similar. Yeah, most of the banks are very similar. They slightly vary in business models, but I would say most people are running money. Venus, what you should look to, don't look at how many branches are closing. Look at the inflow of deposits. Don't worry about the size of branches, because they already have a lot. Look at the inflow of deposits. Check and see if that's increasing. That's how you can make your baseline decision. And then also, just to throw it out there, unless you got over $250,000 sitting inside the bank account, you most likely going to be insured anyway. They just insure at the smaller banks anyway. So I'm not saying you don't have that, Venus, because I'm just saying, but for most people besides you, because you asked the question, it's not really going to impact most people unless we sit on a quarter. And if you got a quarter, you should probably be using it differently, unless that's what your business model requires. But any of those big banks, you're going to be fine with for the most part. Venus, everybody's going to be flowing their money into those big banks. Even on a smaller end, if you look at Charles Schwab, right? Their CEO just came out. He said they're getting huge inflows of money, right? Why? Because the Robinhood, the M1s, the Betterment, all those fintech ones scare people. They scare people. So people, when it's fear time, because we have an emotional connection to our money, that's the first thing we have to defeat, is our emotional connection. Well, they're going to run that money up. The brokerage accounts that you have in those smaller companies, you're fearful of that. So now they run into these big legacy companies again, the safe ones, putting these other businesses that need that money at a disadvantage. And we're doing it to them. And then we're going to be asking in a few years, how come the rich keep getting richer? Here's the game. This is how it happens. It's us. We do it. We're doing it to ourselves. And I'm just showing you how to identify it. And that's just in telecommunications. We can break down the sector by sector. Let's get into the streaming wars, right? She said somebody paranoid today called me. Venus, you ain't broker than me. I'm going to call next. Look, I'm going to change this show to Broke Talk with Aaron O. Because you ain't broker than me, Venus. But this is the point. If we get into the streaming wars, right? Streaming is not really profitable for most of these companies that are competing. Really, only Netflix is really profitable, right? Because right now, they're intentionally losing. As crazy as this sounds, they're intentionally losing because they want to make sure the prices are so cheap enough that you get addicted to the product. And that other small companies that want to come up and compete can't compete, because it's like when Amazon had that diaper company and they put that diaper company out, you can Google that, by the way, and they put that diaper company out of business. Kobe Jordan says, would you recommend working at a bank right now? Yes. First of all, I recommend you having a job anywhere and make sure you stacking some money because the downturn will be difficult. And all the people that's not making money right now because they're sitting around just playing around, you're doing yourself a disservice. This is a time for you to be stacking that paper for that downturn for you to take advantage of these opportunities. Work anywhere. Work 2 jobs. Get more money coming in. Do not sit around on your hands and waiting around for something for the clear green light. Grind. So that's the key. But like, let's get back to these streaming wars, right? The Disney, they own Hulu with Comcast, Warner Media, Paramount, right? Those are the major ones, right? Aside from Netflix is profitable, right? All the rest of them are running at a deficit because the majority of their money is spending on advertising, finding the right pricing and business model, but also beating the competition that's coming up. They know Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile know they have to share. They're effectively a default monopoly. They know they got to share with each other. I use the same comparison between Burger King and McDonald's, right? We know the prices is roughly the same, but they don't burn each other building down to compete. What they do is they go behind in the alleyway and be like, look here, how much that burger you running for? $2.99? We're going to do $2.99 too. Backdoor deals, right? Backdoor deal. All it is, all 3 of those companies are a monopoly. They just agreed. Look, let's not go lower than this price. We have to agree to that. We cannot go lower to these prices so that we can keep those other businesses from getting into our industry, and we keep controlling it. Look at every single industry. They have 3 or 4 big players everywhere. It's not random that stuff happens. They're consolidating. So Netflix, Disney, I'm gonna probably say Warner Media, Paramount. Those are going to be the top 4 or 5 companies in these streaming wars. But they have to keep pricing so low right now and competitive that other companies don't pop up out of nowhere and undertake their business and their market share. But wait for a few years. And what you're going to start seeing is they're going to readjust the business model. They're going to readjust these ad tiers because they need the advertising dollars to offset the cost of the acquisition of customers because they're giving free entertainment away. You can get Disney Plus for free for right now, right? Yeah, Venus, listen, Venus, this is what we do. I want to be the voice that just pushes in the right direction and just be a part of the conversation, right? So I appreciate you being here. But that's what they're going to do. In a few years after we all get off listen, the reason why AT&T is getting out of that business, right? How long did it take you to make it? I'm not answering that question, man. I'm broke. So, right, you have to understand the reason why they're getting out of these regional businesses because they know they can't compete with the national business. They know it's over with. And sometimes they intentionally self-destruct on purpose to push the money back to the top. It's crazy as it is. It's all a game. I told y'all last time we was here. Y'all ain't listen. The 1929 market crash, the 1987 stock market crash, 2008 stock market crash. Watch the documentaries. There's many of them. You will be able to find indicators of the same thing happening over and over again. The only thing that's different is what they will say caused the market crash. The only thing will be different is they'll say, well, here, what caused it was that we gave too many bad loans out. That's what they're going to say. And they're going to be like, well, here, we haven't determined the 2020 market crash or whatever. We haven't determined the reason for that yet. We're just going to give a bunch of BS reasons. And all it is an opportunity. That's right, there is a redistribution of wealth right in your face. And they're going to distract you in the process. And I'm showing y'all how to pay attention to the game. Who cares about Republicans and Democrats? I don't care nothing about that. They all work with the corporations. But what they do is they incite fear in you. And the most way to get to that fear is your money. That's why inflation is silent. Could you imagine if inflation had a real-time indicator that you knew that you're $100 in the bank? If inflation was visual, they showed you that $100 went from $100 to $97. you guys would actually respond better, because inflation is silent and we're visual people and we have a bad relationship with money. We don't respond properly. We don't know that our money is worth less money, because every time we type it in on the computer, it says $100 in 2008. It says $100 in 2009. It says $100 in 2010. If it lowered the price visually to y'all, we would be able to make changes. That's part of the game. That's why they call it silent inflation. I really want you guys to study up on silent inflation, and for you guys to really make a mental change to understand just how much it's destroying us. Think about it like this. We've been running inflation damn near 7 to 10%, right? If you check your bank account, you're not going to see that $100 go down 10%. You're not going to see it. You're not going to see that $100 in your bank account go from $100 to $90. But if you did, I would tell you this, you would be in the game. Now, the greatest people, the people that have the most financial literacy, they don't require the visual change because they understand that it is there, right? And this is the thing that Israel was trying to talk about when he talked about education is not a determining factor of how successful you be. He was really, really bad at explaining what he was trying to say, right? But I'll do it for him. If you having an education was the best determining thing of you're going to be rich, he'd be right. Yeah, the economists would be the richest people, but it's not that. But what still is true is this: if you are educated, you're going to make more money than most people, and that still lies to be factually true. If you have a college degree, you're still going to make more money than the average person, but that does not mean you're going to get rich and wealthy. Those people have a different education. Those people have a financial education, and I implore you, hell, I damn near want to beg you. It's in your family's best interest, for all the hard work that you do, all of the hard work that you do, all of the money you want to leave to your family, you got to be the one to teach them financial literacy. No one is going to go to that school where they actually create workers to keep this system going. They're never going to change that. And let me tell you why. There's not a teacher alive that can teach you this. Most teachers not going to be in school. So you can't actually ask for the system to teach you financial literacy. Who is the person that's going to do it? That's what you guys are not figuring out. Who do you want to teach your kids financial literacy? Who in the school that would want to work at a school to teach your kids financial literacy? Think about it. I will repeat. Politicians, wealthy people are not going to intentionally finance your freedom. It's not their goal. It's your job. It's your goal. It's your job to raise your kids. It's your job to teach your kids. It's your job to be financially literate. I'm never going to be worried about my kids having to go to one of these teachers that I know cannot teach them anything because they don't know any better. It's not just an understanding of economics, right? We can all understand what GDP is, right? Even if we can explain it to you, break it down to you, it will not change anything. Your mind has to really live money. Your mind really has to understand money. I'm trying to simplify it. Here's simple ways, right? Get on the other side of the register. If you go into a Target to buy something, you're on the consumer side of the register. You want to be on the other side where they hand you the money for that product. Get on whatever you're doing in life and you see people making money, get on the opposite side. You need to get on the other side of producing. I don't care. You know why YouTubers are killing it? They're producing content. They're producing something. You know why musicians always kill it? Production. You guys, we all have to get in the understanding of production. Now, you can become rich as an employee. Don't let nobody tell you can't, but you got to be a well-paid employee. Yeah, you got to be getting that real money as an employee, because otherwise you're never going to get the tax breaks that a regular mom and pop person can get the tax breaks and live just as well as, like, as crazy as this sound. They can live just as well as somebody making $150,000 but they're only generating 80,000. But they got so many write-offs. They got so many tax breaks that they can actually live the same life as someone that's making $70,000, $80,000 more than them. But the first thing you guys got to do, is know the economy around you. Know that these companies are using fear tactics. Know that these politicians are using fear tactics to scare us, keep us illiterate, and keep us in their system. See, the people over here, we here to fight the system. We know we like things. We know we like cars. I got some guys in here that like cars. They like shoes. I got women in here that love shopping on Amazon. Listen, I can see it. I can see all these damn transactions, especially women, and y'all just buy things. I'm talking to this one girl right now. She said, I'm depressed. I said, what you doing? I'm on Amazon buying something because I'm depressed. I said, huh? Oh, no. It happens every single day. Every single day. And here's the problem. Single people spend the most money. That's just the truth. I'm not telling you to get with somebody, but I'm telling you, if you're single, you are a target. You are a victim. You are their primary customer. They love single people because they're hoping that you don't have no liabilities, but you're the target. So make sure you guys are paying attention. Y'all see the Albertsons deal. I proved that to y'all. DOJ can't stop nothing, even though they're literally the number 2 and number 4 retailers in the whole country. Couldn't stop nothing because they don't want to. They just want to play the tough guy. I showed you in telecommunications. I can show you in every industry how the game works. They're going to play the same game. But most of us don't pay attention to other industries. Some industries actually really have a monopoly, and there's nothing we can do about it. But we don't pay attention to those industries. We pay attention to the things that we wear, right? The phone that we have, the things that we consume, the YouTube. Y'all know YouTube is a $1 trillion company, right? Y'all know the Amazon's $1 trillion company. Y'all know the Apple's a $1 trillion company. We know them because they're in the trillions, right? Microsoft. Let's use Microsoft as an example. I apologize. I'm a little under the weather, so I'm going to be more pausing than I normally do, but we going to grind. We going to grind. Now, let's talk about Microsoft for a second, right? They're a $1 trillion company. They're literally buying Activision. Activision Blizzard pretty much holds the games that everybody loves. The primary one that people love the most, that has the most eye-catchy thing, is Call of Duty. That is the prize thing that they want in that deal with Activision Blizzard. They want that Call of Duty. And here's the crazy part. Even though they're one of the top 5, 6 companies probably in all of the world, right? Because I know I got y'all in here. Y'all can Google it, but valuation changed. I know the market was down like 200 points today, right? They're one of the top 5, 6 companies by market valuation in probably all the goddamn world, right? They're still going to buy this company, and the DOJ will do nothing to stop them. Why? Because they're prepared to do something that most companies won't do. They're already, I don't know if I should pull it. They're already signing deals with other smaller companies to say, hey, look, we're helping this company. We're doing this. And they're actually admitting that they're inferior to Sony. Sony's ability to create gaming systems and consoles and all these things, they're saying that they're not the best at it. Most companies never admit they're not the best. No matter what bank it is, whether it's Chase, Wells Fargo, Citibank, US Bank, they all think they're the best. They will never go out and say, you should go to our competitor because they're better than us. But when you admit that, then you show the need to make adjustments because it really don't hurt them, right? They got a $1 trillion market cap. They can actually take this public lashing to say that they're not the best, which is not common of companies to admit. But when they want the DOJ to leave them alone, and when they want this sale to go through, they'll do it. Yeah, we're not the best company at making consoles and competing. It's Sony. So we need to buy this company to compete with them. We need to buy this company to compete with them. It's cap, but that's what they will do, so the DOJ will back off. And then we all know what's going to happen, right? Whoever is in the DOJ, the game is the game, is the point that I'm trying to get you guys to understand. You got to get in the game and please play to win. I don't care if you win when you're 50. I don't care if you win when you're 60. You can win, but you must play. Don't let nobody scare you off this game. Don't let nobody tell you can't play. We all can play, but if we don't play, we all going to lose. Don't stay on the sideline. And it ain't about, listen, this is the key thing, right? People think it's about making all the money, making a whole lot of money. No, the key is knowledge and being aware. If you can live your life, and I broke it down in my last video of talk about how important it is for you to focus on forget what I'm talking about now. You can just keep increasing your income and keeping your expenses like this, you'll win. But even if you can't do that, right? And you can only a little bit, right? Being aware of what's going on around you will put you in prime position to defend yourself if you're not an offensive player. Now, I advise y'all to get on the offense. Defense is when, you're paying down debt, you're slowly but surely going through the process, and you just getting by, right? That's defense. When you get on the offense, that's when you running the bag up. That's when you got more money that you ain't got no debt damn near, and you can really run it up. You can really separate the cost of your living and how much money you generate. You can really run it up. That's offense. But defense is okay too. But if you really want to live a different life, well, you should become a minimalist. That's my goal. I'm trying to be a minimalist. I damn near moving everything out of my way. I'm trying to remove all emotional attachments to things. So that's part of the reason why I'm on this journey to be a minimalist, right? And a lot of people say this on YouTube, but they really not going to do it. They just say it because it sounds cool. I'm really going to do it, right? And I've been doing it over the years. I do it with food. I eliminate. No, don't start with me, Sherelle. I eliminated meats out of my diet. There are certain meats I'd never eat again. The second I have the opportunity to say I don't need to eat that no more, I eliminate it. Any chance I get to say I don't need that no more, I don't do it. And you can do 1 or 2 things a year. I promise you, it's life-changing. Eliminate 1 or 2 things a year out of your life, and will change your life. I know you guys don't believe me, but listen, if you ever try it, that's all we can ask for. That's all we can ask for. And so hopefully you guys learned something today. Hopefully you guys got something out of this, right? Now, if you guys have specific questions, because I'm done going off on what I'm going off of. If you guys have specific questions, we can get into it. I'm actually going to drop the link, but I'm warning you now. If you come up here on this BS and you try to ruin this money talk conversation, this civil conversation, we're going to have a problem. We're going to have a real problem. I'm telling y'all right now, do not do that. Do not do that. Do not do that. We just here because I said in the future, we going to try to create a panel, try to create a conversation. We're going to call it I don't know if I'll call it the round table, right? I don't know if I should call it that. But we going to call it, I don't know yet. I got to think of a name, right? I don't know what to call it. But the goal is this. We have a conversation. We have like-minded people that have an intention on asking questions, opening people's minds, and then also using people in our network, because we are a network here, right? Where you have a question about a business model that you want to do, right? We will tell you if we think it's dumb. We will tell you if we would buy it. We will tell you what we would do in that scenario. I am going to bow out more than anybody else, right? And let me tell you why. Most people think they can understand every industry, think they have an opinion on every single thing. I don't have that ability, and I'm grateful that I have the ability to admit I do not know. But if we can add value to each other, that's really the goal of these conversations, right? So my goal today was to really, really get you guys to understand that asking for more money causes the economic issues, right? It causes the economic issues that we didn't know that we're causing. But I hopefully I've somewhat opened your mind to this where you go, damn, we asked for more money. They gonna crash the economy, blow up inflation, throw fear tactics out there, get presidential elections, get senator seats, become congressional people, all while we're confused and lost about our money and what's going on around us. And they're going to run the bag up right in our face. And by the time we figure it out, it's too late. We're in another booming economy and we ain't complaining no more. Hopefully that's what you guys got from this conversation today. hopefully you figured out ways or are starting to think about ways of how to pay yourself first, because that's where we can get to. What's MMS? I don't know what MMS is, my guy. I don't know. But I do want to shout out to my guy. JC said this content that needs 2,000 people watching and 2,000 likes, it's not going to get it, bro. It's not going to get it. But that's the thing. These conversations show who's really here to really learn something, right? To really, because when people say we ain't here for solutions, we don't get together for solutions. All y'all want to do, yeah, we want to have fun. Yeah, we want to goof off a little bit. Yeah, we want some crazy, chaotic fun, because that's what you come to YouTube to chill for. But when I get these smaller rooms, right? Listen, they're not going to be supported the way the other content is. I know that, right? But you really find out who's really, really here to really try to learn something, who's here to actually add to the conversation, who's here to challenge your thinking and go, I never looked at the economy that way. I never realized that when this stuff happens, it literally forces these corporations to get bigger and bigger. And y'all keep asking me year after year, why are they bigger? Why did this company go from a 50 billion market capitalization to 150 billion in about 10, 15 years? Because of us. Because of what we don't understand about money and the hope and the goal to force our children to learn from somebody in the school system. I'm telling you now, get off that. Get off that. Nobody in the school system is going to teach your kids financial literacy. They can tell them about how to do their taxes. They can tell them about, hey, you shouldn't spend your money. You should get on a budget. A mindset shift is necessary. If you do not shift your mindset, you're not going to get nowhere. You're not going to get nowhere. So I don't mind going live when other people are going live because, listen, they not coming over here with us, y'all. It's just us. Shout out to Grizz Trees. He said he been asking me to do this. So, listen, I read y'all comments, by the way. I absolutely read y'all comments. And so I know y'all been asking to get more conversation like this. I absolutely want to do them. But I be torn sometimes. I'm going to be honest with y'all. Because the other content is more engaging of a bigger audience. People are way more involved in those conversations. Money conversations make people uncomfortable. And even though I love these conversations, I'm going to be real with y'all. I could just have these conversations offline with the people I know in real life, because I know for sure these people are engaged in this stuff. They really want to learn. But I'm not going to let the fact that this particular content doesn't get the bigger audience, doesn't get the most support. I'm still going to try to find ways, especially I love talking about what's going on with the current economy. New deals, Netflix buys this, Disney buys this. I love talking about that stuff because I want to tell y'all what I see and what I project. And I want to use your minds to play off of that and play off of that so we all can get involved. But we all know what this content is going to do. So we just going to keep doing what we do. Shout out to AL. He said, peace and blessings, bro. We got to get the money. Honestly, I agree with you. But the reason why, me personally, I think I'm unique in this space is that I'm not trying to, Anton gonna get mad. I know. I'm not trying to tell y'all to get all the money. That's Anton's job. I'm just trying to tell y'all to shift your mindset. That's all. I'm just trying to push. We off that. We off this complaining stuff in the sense of somebody got to give us this or they owe us this. Forget all that. The reason why I go so hard against liberals is because they want somebody else to do for them. That's the only issue I have with them. I don't give them if you want to be a Republican, conservative, whatever. I want you to do for yourself. That's the whole goal with the conversation. Please shift your mindset. You ain't got to be rich. You ain't got to be rich. You don't even have to want to be rich, but you should want to know what's going on around you. You should want to know how it's going to affect your children. You should want to know how you can leave money. You should want to know how to tax. You should want to know how you can hide money in a certain type of account to where it actually shields the taxable burden from your offspring, from your family. How you can. The reason why I bought Disney stock, right? Not only because I understand the business and I do really, really like their intellectual property. And I know people are mad at them because they're one of the first companies to the table of this, genderless world. And I know right now we're looking at it in real time. We don't understand in 20 years or whatever, we're not going to be really as mad as we are now. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm looking at it in the business aspect, right? We have to be able to go from this space to 20 years down the line. And ain't nobody else gonna do that for your family besides you. But the reason I bought Disney stock was this. Many years ago, when I first started in the financial industry, right? This older lady had left a whole bunch of Disney stock to her granddaughter. And now she needed to get some paperwork signed. She needed to get a certain stamp of endorsement to say that they can acknowledge these particular assets, and she could pass them on to her granddaughter. And if it was only $20,000, it didn't matter. What it showed my mind was, whoa, you telling me I could do this for my grandkids or my children? And then I started learning about the ways that you can shield your taxes in certain type of accounts. And then you could pay no taxes in certain type of accounts and pass those assets down to your family. And I said, yo, this the game that we got to learn. This the game is really going to change our lives from being broke as a joke, eating that government cheese, everybody laughing at you because your clothes dingy, your shoes beat up. This is the game changer right here. And so ever since then, I've been on a mission to continuously learn, to continuously try to help everybody around me change their mindset around money, to get out of that victim mentality and realize we can do for ourselves. What's going on, Sherelle?
Hey, Erin, doing good up here. I just want to ask you some general questions, okay?
Sure.
Okay, so how much do you think a person needs for them to retire?
To be honest with you, I don't think it's an amount. I don't think you personally should ever retire. I think you want to get as much income as you possibly can create. But if I have to give a blanketed response to how that some of these financial advisors would actually do, in California, I say 5 million. Um, I would say in other places, $3 billion. If you really just don't know what you're doing, but you were able to accumulate $3 billion, you'd be fine. Anything below that, you're asking for hell because as you get older, the expenses of medical bills, they can jack them up legally. So you being 75 years old, they can legally jack up these prices of medical for you and run up these bills. Most people, all their money go to medical bills as they tend to get older. So I don't necessarily recommend a amount. I recommend continuously to have income sources because it's actually an income amount. It's not an amount you can save. It's an income amount. And so in that sense, I would say whether it's 80,000 a year, that's residual income, 100,000 a year residual. I would look at it like that. Not so much can I save 2 billion, what that 2 billion can make me. And if you can get a residual amount yearly, some people it's 80 grand is enough. But realistically in California, it's about 5 million that I would just tell somebody if they ask me. Now, this all for entertainment, but what I would shoot for personally is about $5 million or more.
And what do you think is the best thing to invest in? Like, what is the best investment option, do you think? Generally, for people that's just starting, whether it's real estate, stock market, index funds, what?
Derek T, I'm not necessarily sick because I rarely get sick, but my body is definitely going through some growing pains because I stream a lot and I've been in the rain. I don't like umbrellas because I like my hands free because I like to be able to react to anything that could possibly happen in real time. I know it sounds crazy paranoid, but that's just how my mind works. So a lot of rain has been happening. The power is getting knocked off. I haven't actually lost power except for one time that was a few months back. But so I am a little. I have a sore throat because of my body's a little sick, but I'm not actually sick. It's not stopping me from productively working. So, but it is controlling my breathing a little bit. So you guys will see me pause more. My energy levels are a little low, but I'm always good to rock out though. But I appreciate you caring about me, bro. I'm good though. Well, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that question, Sherelle? I apologize.
What do you think is the best? Like, when people want to invest their money, what do you think is the best thing for them to invest in when they're first starting to invest? Real estate, stock market. What do you think?
That's a really good question. I don't want to give a generic response but the truthful answer is this. The best investment you can make is in yourself. And that's what other people will tell you. But what that really means is learning really about money is more important than you thinking you can pour money here or pour money there and it's going to generate you more money. The more, like, what helped me is I felt comfortable enough to say, I want to invest here. And if I lose money, I will learn why I lost money. And then I can make some, because we can all make more money. We'd all have $500,000 and blew it. So we can make more money. But when you learn that skill of how to invest the money and you have the temperament for it, invest in yourself to where you're comfortable enough to make those decisions. So I would say the one thing you shouldn't do is think you have to be everywhere. See, being everywhere is what I call the wealth preservation stage, right? But when you're in wealth accumulation stage, what you want to do is focus on one industry. Whether you want to be in real estate, focus all your attention on real estate, right? Whether you want to be in stocks, focus all your attention on stocks, right? Whether you want to be in a business, focus all your attention on business. Do not look to diversify anything. They are tricking you with that. You diversify when you're trying to preserve capital, when you're trying to preserve wealth, you diversify and then you preserve your wealth for downturns and things like that. But in the beginning stages, what you want to do is concentration. You don't want to put $1,000 in one stock, a thousand. You want to put 5 or 10,000 in one stock. Do not separate them. I know it sounds crazy. Breaking news: Aaron blew 500K. I have not lost that much, JB. But the truthful answer is now your question is different, but I'm giving you that broad answer. But to answer your question specifically, what I personally think realistically for most people, because I don't think they will ever control their emotions when it comes to money, is real estate. Because the reason why, and I've talked about this previously, is the price fluctuation of real estate you cannot visually see. So when your house is actually on Zillow and it says your house is worth 20,000 less than it was 3 months ago, it doesn't break your heart. But when you got money in the stock market and it's in equities or in bonds or whatever, and you seeing it fluctuate, you losing 10, 20 grand a day or whatever the case is, that bothers most people. So I always tell people in general, I would focus if you don't have an emotional control over money, you still having a effectively understand that you have to separate your emotions from money, get into real estate. And I recommend that more for women than men because women are way more emotional. I know that sounds sexist. I'm not trying to be, but women want stable things in life. That's why single women have more homes than single men because they look for that structure, they look for that consistency, and they look for that safety. So I would recommend real estate out of the top four things because business is very difficult to do, no matter what anybody says. It is difficult, but it is the most rewarding in the beginning stages. So business will actually make you the most money, but it's very difficult to do. But everybody can pretty much do real estate in some form and realize an actual return, even if it's forced or even if it's indirectly. But I wouldn't recommend stocks for the most people because it is very difficult to do. And most of y'all lazy, don't want to read, don't understand industry, don't understand the risk that comes with it. So that's how I would answer that question. But I'm sorry, I'm a little sick. But it's fine.
I got two more questions, and you do need to start taking some medicine. Um, what do you think? Banks versus credit unions.
It depends what you have the credit union for. Sometimes credit unions will give you better. I know JB. I wasn't recommending that to beginners. I was talking about the connection with money, right? But actually, what I recommend was the business. But so in when it comes to credit unions or big banks, what I actually recommend is this: it don't really matter because you shouldn't have your money sitting in the bank that long anyway. You need to have an action plan for your money. So hypothetically, if you have a credit union, it's probably because they have convinced your mind that big banks are evil, or they've given you a better interest rate on a product like a car or a loan or something. If that's the reason that you need to bank with them to get a better interest rate, bank with them. But I recommend having multiple relationships with multiple banks because when you get mad, and you will get mad, you need to be able to take your money to another place that you already have a relationship built. Otherwise, you have to start over a brand new relationship. This is why women say, I don't want to get married again. I don't want, look, Callie Bev said it. I think, I don't want to learn a new person. I don't want to do that. already, this actually sounds bad because comparing that to relationship and then already having somebody on the side. No, that's not the comparison. But the point of it is build multiple relationships when it comes to financials because you don't want to limit yourself to just one bank. So I would say both.
Let's say you have $250,000 sitting in the bank,
Hmm.
right? What do you do with that? You're not really gaining nothing off it in the bank account. What should you do with $250,000? Where should that money be?
Well, first of all, that's a blanketed question, and the first answer is how the hell I get that $250,000. That's one.
You just been saving. You know, normal people just save. They don't invest their
I
money.
understand. So if I'm savvy enough to save that kind of money, that means I either have made a good amount of money. Uh, it depends on what age I am as well. But it sounds like if you save $250,000 just in an account and you're not necessarily making that much money. See, I would say it's better to invest in skills you already have. So whatever industry you're currently in, if you can find a way to branch off and do that business yourself and work for yourself with already using the knowledge from the company that you were with, steal customers from them. If you in a huge corporation, still a damn customers. Be like, hey, yo, I'm leaving. I got my own business. Pull up on them outside. You know where their favorite restaurant is in the community. Pull up and use the skill set that you got from that business. Create your own business because therefore you have confidence in something because you've done it before, just under somebody else's parachute, and do it your own. I think that's a better way to invest in yourself because at least you feel confident in that industry. So
If I can interject, I'll throw you a story of a woman who was a 20-year employee at McDonald's. 20 years, right? I believe this woman had no children or anybody else that she was taking care of. But over the course of 20 years, this was a story. It was put in the newspaper in New York. This was around like 2008, 2007 or so. After working for 20 years, she saved up $1 million. I think she was saving the majority of her paycheck in the New York area over the course of 20 years and saved $1 million. McDonald's worker though. That's when you said that right there, 250K, you know what I mean? Probably a decent paying job. I mean, there's also the option of being a penny pincher scrounging, and you have to be very, very diligent with the way that you save, spend and what you do with your life. But there was that one story keeps coming to my mind. A woman, 20 years working at McDonald's and saved $1 million. You know what I mean?
hold on one sec. Hold on,
And
Kobe.
that's really just saving 10K a month for 2 years.
Oh, don't worry
That's how
about
much a
me.
month?
Yeah, I do got a question for you too, Aaron. But go ahead.
Yeah. Let me just answer Venus real quick. No, see the thing is you are allowed to compete unless you sign a non-compete. You're allowed to compete. And I don't really mean stealing customers like steal them per se. What I'm saying is that you already have an identified market. And I'm gonna be honest with you, just to be clear, a lot of these corporations, they literally take portfolios. They can't legally take their customers with them. But however, when they go to another company, if those people don't want to bank or those people don't want to be under those financial advisors because the guy that they trust left, they can't make them stay. It's up to the customer. So it depends on industry. And I don't really mean steal the customer. What I mean is those people are probably your customers. They come into that business to see you. How many times have people come to a business like, I come here because of you? And that's all I mean by like you have a client base and you should be using them because they would rather give you money than the corporations most of the time. That's all I mean. Go ahead, Kobe Jordan.
Okay, so I want to talk about the debt situation, right? So I'm switching careers right now, so I'm going into software like cybersecurity, and so I'm thinking about what you're saying, but I'm also talking to Anton, and he wrote it. The situation is he wants me to go the long route, the college route, instead of the fast paced boot camp route. You know what I mean? But the issue with that is I'm gonna have to rack up so much more money in debt if I go the slow route versus me just self taught and then you know, go get my certifications. So I already have about 25K in student loans or in debt because I did go to community college for 2 years. But now I got to go back to school for, you know what I'm saying, for another 2 more years. And that's just going to put me even further behind. So I'm just trying to figure out if I'm the fastest way to get rich is to minimize your debt, but I got to pick up more debt. So that's where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? I'm 27. So what do you recommend for me?
Well, one, I'm not about to go against Anton, especially if he's already coached you or giving you some thought process. But he typically says that more often than not, that don't try to rush the process, right? So like the thing about high school graduates, which I am, and college graduates is I can work immediately. And I ain't gotta I don't have to go through the same grind they have to go 4 years behind. But the thing is, I hit a cap. If I don't understand different ways to make money, most people will hit a cap because you don't have that degree that take you to the next level. So even though you was winning in the beginning of the first leg of the race, the person with that college degree is going to lap you because later on in the future, you have to be thinking 15, 20 years down the line. Right now, you're thinking, how can I get myself out this situation right now?
Well, I mean, I'm making money. It's just the fact of what he's saying. It makes sense. Like I eventually want to move up in the ranks, but I guess I'm thinking of like, do I necessarily need to have that paper, or is it more so about my you know what I mean, my certifications and what I can prove? Like that's kind of what I'm, because I already have 2 years of college business. You know what I mean, marketing. I just don't have the computer science background. So
Well, I'll be honest with you. I wish JB was here to answer that question because he's much more of an expert in that field than I am. So I can just give you a general
no,
response, right?
that's fine. That's fine.
I would say this: unless you're a phenomenal networker, unless you have a phenomenal skill at getting people to see you and invest in you and believe in you, a lot of the times they're not going to let you get away with not having those papers. So unless you can get somebody to say, I don't give a damn about them papers at all, I want this guy. Unless you have an ability to
Yeah.
gravitate people like that, I would say Anton's probably right because you are going to hit a roadblock. You absolutely are. And some people have a unique ability to get people to believe in them and say, I ain't got the degree, but they see your work ethic is so dope and you connect people so well. You just have it's a skill set to do
And
this.
see, that's the thing. Like, I believe that's, bro. I've got the last 3 jobs I've had. I didn't have the bachelor or whatever that they wanted me to have, but I got the job. So for me, I've made 6 figures in my last 2 jobs just by my ability to network and communicate. So, I feel like I can do it, but I'm gonna just think about it because again, he's already done it. So I'm listening to him, but I'm also thinking like, man, that's another 2 years, and I gotta accumulate more debt. I'm not trying to get no more debt, but
Well, the thing is, don't let debt scare you. The thing is, as long as you have a mindset, I'm gonna get rid of it. And if I can get more money by getting this degree, because doctors don't have a choice. Most doctors get in debt no matter what.
right.
So they just know there are doctors that have that debt for 20 years, and then there's doctors that pay it off in 5 to 7. They get rid of that. So as long as you have the mindset to go, look, if I had to take this little debt on, if I have to make a little bit more money, if I have to run Uber or Lyft on the side, whatever I got to do to make sure I
Right,
have
right.
the most minimal debt of all, it's probably worth it because the way it sounds like to you, you do want to move up. You do possibly want a powerful position,
Oh, of
and
course, yeah, of course.
you will most likely, unfortunately, need that paperwork unless we go through a revolutionary. And I think we're going to eventually go through this industry change to where college is not as prevalent, but it's still as important. But we haven't shifted there yet, and I don't think it's 2 years away. I think it's a little bit farther out than that. So if you have the capabilities to get the degree, I would definitely agree with Anton because a lot of people that don't have the capabilities, I understand. But if you do have the skill set, you do have the capabilities, I would say it's probably worth the risk because you have the mindset to get rid of the debt. You're not about to just sit there and, you know what I mean, let that debt pile up on you. You have the mindset to say, I'm getting rid of this debt immediately. So,
And then one more question for you too. Last question. So
yep.
what I guess what sources are you kind of reading, or what sites do you read to kind of keep up with what's going on? I mean, I have Business Insider, but like what else do you read up on daily?
Yep. So I would say read everything.
Yeah, I
Cross.
know, right?
Yeah. So I mean, and it don't have to be nothing crazy, but you have to get to the deeper aspect. You can do the CNBCs, you can do the Yahoo Finances, you can do a lot of these these companies that will have you pay a membership. All of that is fine, but you still have to do a deeper dive because they're going to give you the blanketed information on the front of the newspaper or the front of the article, but you have to do a deeper dive anyway. You have to understand how what they're saying makes sense about this company for 5 years out, right? So that's what I tend to do. I tend to project, right? When we're looking, like I talked about the streaming wars, right? We actually know these companies could probably charge $20 and people would still pay it, but they're intentionally not doing that because they're destroying streaming competition from other people. And then once those people are out of their sites, they're going to consolidate this streaming power to like four giants. Same with telecommunications. They're going to be four giants, and then the pricing power, they're going to be able to enact it. I guarantee as you watch this play out, that's exactly what's going to happen. So
That's a good
read,
point. That's a very
read
good point.
everything. Read everything you can, but understand you have to do a deeper dive. You have to really dive into these companies, and then you also have to really understand how do these companies make money and how they gonna give that money to you, and how are they going to beat the competition, and if or they are a monopoly of four companies, which is really one if you really break it down.
God, I appreciate that, bro.
No doubt.
I just wanted to give an example to what AO was saying about starting your own business and stealing their clients to an extent. So I work in trade, and my company has electrical, plumbing, and HVAC. The top selling plumbing guy was making about 200K. Decided he wanted to start his own business, and how that works is all the clients that he was dealing with making that 200K, the reasons they kept going back to my company, just move with him. He didn't really do anything. He didn't really like, oh, don't stay with him, come to my new company. He didn't have to do none of that. Wherever he went, that's where they went, type of thing. And the company had a mutual benefit with him because he put in a lot of time and earned them a lot of money. So it was no hard feelings if he wanted to do that. But that's kind of what AO was saying, like steal their clients, not necessarily stealing their clients because they were already technically your clients, but you just work for them.
Is this sound bad or is it just me?
Oh, that's
Nah,
him.
it's him.
He struggles
Okay,
streaming.
okay.
You build a relationship with those people
Bro,
that
I
you
won't
work
be home
with
until
before they like
tomorrow,
you.
bro.
You basically
Sway.
building a relationship with the people that work with you. I mean, I hear that too a lot. People say, life is about relationships, and networking with people.
Sway, you're wasting your white privilege, bro. Like, you wasting that shit, man.
Don't you start, JB. Don't you mess up this show.
No, but I was gonna say, Aaron.
You lucky my internet
Early.
fucked up, JB. I roast your ass.
It's not the show for that.
I was gonna say, I think, in my opinion, when it comes to reading and getting up to speed on certain topics, I think the key thing, as simple as this is gonna sound, is actually understanding how money works in the first place, right? Um, that's why I'm always stressing like understanding the banking infrastructure, understanding private equity, understanding like these things run pretty much everything that happens to our money, right, runs through these systems. Um, and the average person does not know the difference. Like they don't know how things work. Like what happens when you submit a wire transfer? Like what actually happens, right? Do you understand that? Do you understand how that process works? Do you understand the practical difference between um, an ACH transfer versus a wire transfer, et cetera, et cetera. Like those little, it's like we depend on these systems. We put our hard-earned money into them, but you don't even understand. The only thing you understand is I'm going to withdraw some money and I'm going to put some money into it. That's all you understand, like the average person. Um, and I think that's crazy. I think that's crazy. I think it's important to actually understand how they work because what I've found is that the more you understand how the system works, the more a lot of dots just start connecting, right? The more it starts making sense. Like, oh, so that's why this happened. Oh, so that's why that bank failed. Oh, so that's why this company got bought out. Like these things just start naturally making sense.
That's a
But
really good
it,
point. It's a really good point.
yeah, they just start making sense. So, and then also opportunities, start coming up, right? So, like for example, I've been telling people about these scout positions that a lot of firms have, right? And it's like pretty. I don't want to say it's easy, but it's a pretty, let's just say, part-time way to make some side income, just bring deal flow to a lot of these private equity firms, right? And it's something that anybody would, I don't want to say like you don't have to be a genius. Let's just put it like that. You don't have to be a genius to bring these folks deal flow. And if they're the only thing is that if they're able to actually if they close a deal based on the leads you bring them, that's the only time you actually get to make a profit. But the point is, Like these opportunities that you don't even know exist just by you knowing about this industry, right? Just by you understanding, how the money's flowing. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to be too vague about it, but I just want to put that in there. Like, um, that's why I love Ray Diallo.
Yeah.
A lot of his stuff. Like he really breaks down this stuff really well,
It's
and I
crazy too,
recommend
Aaron,
people
he,
read it.
he,
because
he does break it down really well. He's a phenomenal mind. But when he gets on TV, sometimes he be killing me because I know he don't really think that. I know you don't really think half the stuff he said on TV. I do not believe. I
Like
only
what?
believe
Like what?
okay, right? Like he'll say something like cash is trash, right? Which is reasonable, right? But then they'll ask him, so what do you do with the money? Well, I don't know. I mean, he's lying. He absolutely knows what to do with the money, but he's not going to answer it. And that I see them do these interviews all the time, and I'm just like, okay, they're not about to answer that question. So like they want the spotlight a lot of the times, but they're only going to put the truth in their books. They're only going to put the truth in their books. They're only going to
Yeah,
drop a
because they
few
want you to
gems,
buy them.
of course, but they're only going to drop a few gems here and there. But a lot of time when they get on television, they're limited in their answers, and they give you information that is not complete. And I'm just like, come on now. You could say cash is trash, and we can all agree to that. But we also know you have cash on the balance sheet because you're prepared to buy something that fails or buy something that's depressed or whatever the case is. And you're not going to tell the average person that because the goal is to show the average person that you're a superior mind thinker and they should trust in you. So
I
I
mean,
hate
but
that.
Aaron, go ahead. My bad.
No, I just hate that point that I know they're going to do that. No matter who the person is, I know they're going to do that.
That's fair. Now, I'm gonna say this to you, Aaron. I think it actually makes a whole lot of sense, right? Because you know, it's like what the thing that Robert Kiyosaki does, right? Where he basically predicted everything, right? And he when he this is not to shit on him, right? Because I do think he gives a lot of good gems, but um, there's this idea of just going on under the spotlight just to seem superior, and really not providing like you're saying concrete value. Now that being said, um, there is a benefit to publicly stating, right, that cash is trash while simultaneously working to benefit from the very claim you're making.
But yes, very much.
Like I mean, it's pretty much that's pretty much how the few people who benefited from the financial crash of 2008, like that's basically what they capitalize on is okay. I understand this market is fucked, so I'm gonna short it, right?
Yep.
Uh, and so I think there's a benefit to it. And so I think the key thing is understanding people's motives, right? Like when you listen to people, like if I listen, for example, if I see Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank on CNBC or something, I already know like a lot of his motives, like just from, listening to him a lot. I already know what he's going to shill, what he's going to push. But overall, you could still gain some gems from listening to him objectively, right? It's just that I make sure I take everything with a grain of salt because I know Kevin O'Leary has a very specific set of assets that he likes to push.
True. No, I agree, and I like Kevin O'Leary. I think he's sound in what he says, but we also know that that man has a motive half the time.
They all do.
Let me just point this out real quick because this here is the CEO of Silicon Valley Bank. I want you to realize what it says. It says Becker also purchased options at lower exercise prices as part of many of the sales and maintain his equity ownership stake. And you know what that means is that he controlled his downside, he maximized outcome, he minimized risk, and he still maintained control all in one. These people are never going to lose when they can do stuff like that. And y'all think that he's hurting because the bank failed. I hate to tell y'all.
One other thing I wanted to touch on, Aaron, is the non-compete thing because I think it's actually important. We should talk about this
Sure,
because
sure, sure.
Venus was asking questions about this. So now JB's not telling you to go break the law, obviously, and also I'm not telling you to get yourself into a bad legal situation. But what I am going to tell you is that in most cases, in the overwhelming majority of cases, non-compete clauses are unenforceable. Okay. in the majority of cases. And the thing to understand when you're reading a contract, which I hope people are actually reading the things they're signing. But the thing to understand is that um, lawyers have as a almost a duty to make sure the contract is as thorough as possible, as comprehensive as possible. Let me put everything in there, any edge case I can think of, anything that could ever happen. Let me put that in there, right? Because then it's a way of protecting their ass. But just because something is in a contract, and just because you sign that contract does not mean it's enforceable. A lot of people don't understand that. They don't understand that there are things that just are not enforceable. No matter it doesn't matter if you signed it, right?
Well,
Just because you agree.
isn't Biden working on trying to remove non-compete options? I think I read something about that. He's trying to actually prevent companies from doing that.
I mean, there's states that have already basically made them illegal, right? So I mean, this is already a thing. Like like I think Massachusetts, I believe. I need to confirm this, but because I know Massachusetts at one point was trying to make sure that non-competes were not enforceable, right? So yeah, I mean, I think people just need to know, like, a lot of these clauses, just because you sign it in a contract does not mean the company can actually do anything to you. Because they cannot prevent you from competing, right? They cannot do that. And so the real issue that actually usually stems up when you hear about competition is usually people stealing IP, right? Because you cannot steal intellectual property. So when you steal a company's intellectual property, now they're going to sue you because that actually belongs to them and you're stealing it. But
Absolutely.
but just stealing customers, right? I almost want to say that's your God-given right.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why they want to use the word stealing. I'm just saying, giving them a different option. Like that's really what
Yeah.
it is.
Like, no, listen, I'm gonna straight up say steal them customers. Look, if you can become a consultant, right, and whatnot, steal them customers. And also the other thing to understand too, here's another aspect of contracts that people don't get as well, Aaron, is that companies always have an equation that they have to do when it comes to thinking about whether or not they should, try to sue somebody. Is it worth it, right? Because if you in order to sue this one employee, right, it's going to cost you this much in attorney fees and whatnot, especially if it's something that's you already know is unenforceable, so you're probably going to lose your money anyways. And then you're going to lose your money, you're going to lose the case, you're going to lose the time spent, etc. So a lot of times these things that actually scare people because they see it in legal language is actually nothing to be afraid of. Like it's just a deterrent. It actually, and it works, right? Because a lot of people believe that these companies can actually come after them just for starting something that's competing. But in practice, they don't realize, like, that's an opportunity waiting for you. Like, if you're really good at what you do, and you could do better outside of this company than within this company, then you should go outside of this company, start your own shit, take any customers you can with you. And even poaching, by the way. I mean, there are some ways that you could illegally poach, but even with, like, getting some of the people you worked with, your former colleagues, and having them come with you, there's tons of ways you could finesse that without you actually, being accused of poaching. So
Yeah.
just
Well, Sherelle asked a question about if you had $250,000 sitting in the bank, what would you do with it? Do you agree with what I said, which was, in a sense, you should probably start a business in a field where you have expertise that you're already comfortable in? Or do you think there's something else they should do with that?
Yeah, I think that was a smart answer. Honestly, like, when I hear questions like that, the first thing I don't think about, like, the investing in self part, because I assume it's a given. But then when you answered like that, I realized, like, most people don't think that way. So I'm glad you provided that as the first answer, right? Because I always assume, like, investing in yourself is a given. Like, you should just do that first and foremost. But if it's not going to be investing in yourself, um, I disagree with you on the real estate thing. I personally think stocks is a better option, or more specifically, not risky stocks. And specifically, please do not
Okay, you're
become a
talking
day.
index. Okay.
Yeah, please do not become a day trader. Okay, I'm not. I'm telling you right now, do not become a day trader. You're not gonna win. It's just it's just not worth it. But I would recommend something. Well, you know what? I'm not a financial advisor. I gotta state this right now. Okay, but what I think is a decent idea is the classic S&P 500. Okay, get yourself, like, VOO. Get yourself some of VOO. It's an ETF. You can pretty much get it with most brokerages. Let's put some money in that and just let it sit. I think the good thing about stocks and ETFs and whatnot is that, in a way, like, they teach you discipline. And the reason they do is because if you don't have discipline, you're gonna fail. Because if you don't have discipline, you're gonna fail. Like you have to be able to actually weather that storm. When you see the red, when you open up your brokerage account and you see all that red, you got to be willing to say, okay, I'm in this for 5 years. I'm in this for
But
10 years.
see, that's the downside too that I have an issue with, right? Because I don't necessarily like to disagree with you uh, on this particular thing because I understand the point. But I'm telling you now, because I understand that the system has been gamified so much, we're talking to relatively people that are middle age or younger. They are a part of this gamified culture. They are the reason why I own Metastock, right? Let me give you an example, right? The reason why I own Metastock is because two things I understand. One, people in addiction to social media, and secondly, their ability to mechanize all of their businesses. I understand how powerful WhatsApp is. I understand how powerful Instagram is. And I understand that they have not monetized none of them. And now that you're actually seeing, like I kind of talked about it briefly, when Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg had that meeting, a couple of weeks later, all of a sudden, because Elon was talking about, hey, you're going to have to pay for this blue check mark, right? And I'm like, damn, that might scare people off the platform. Then I thought about it. Nah, people, they want to tweet, they want to talk. And then Zuckerberg did the same thing. And I said, it's not a coincidence that they had that meeting, and now Zuckerberg is saying, "Hey, if you want to be on IG, you're gonna have to pay $14.99 a month in order to be verified." And when I said, "Why would they pay that?" I said, "Whoa!" Now that I think about it, there are a bunch of influencers that make money from posting on IG. They are actually going to have to do it in order for those 100,000 subscribers, those 1.3 million followers that they have, whatever. When they post and pay and charge 15 grand to do that, they're going to have to pay that $14.99 a month to certify their check mark because they're going to change their system to force people to do that. And when I said how many users they got, got almost 1 billion people. Oh yeah, even if they get 1 million people to sign up for that, it's game over. They about to run that bag up. So that's just one identifying mark. And so the thing what I'm saying is when it comes to this gamification stuff, when you can buy an index fund, you would think that, oh yes, it forces you to just deal with the red. And I'm telling you, it doesn't. I have seen people buy an index fund, see the red because it was just a bad day, and sell because they have the ability to do so. And I'm telling you, and I'm not saying get in real estate because technically I was trying to say you should invest in yourself in a business you understand. But if you're going to invest in real estate, it's illiquid. It's very difficult because you're upset that it's not worth $20,000 this month that you get out of it. I don't believe they're going to master their emotions to not sell even an index fund if it loses $500 because it's so easy to do it. I see people do it all the time. And I'm saying most struggling things that people have is that actual feeling of what money is. And when they see a stock go up and down, I promise you, whether it's an index fund or it's Apple, they like to sell. And it happens all the time. So that's the only pushback that I had about that.
That's fair. That's fair. Now, here's the thing about real estate, though, Aaron, is that the term real estate, I actually kind of hate it because it's so broad, right? There's so many things you could do in that domain, right? And so, like for example, one of the first things that a lot of people will go to is fixing and flipping. And I'm taking this example for a reason, right? Because what I would not want somebody to do is go and take their savings and then let's say, you know what, I want to become a fix and flipper without actually understanding, the economics, the economics of, fixing and flipping homes, being able to deal with contractors. What happens if your contractor, runs away with the bag? Like, there's so many things that they're not prepared for, right? And to me, that's why I want to be careful when you're saying things like that. I get where you're coming from, but it's like, just in terms of just saying real estate, unless you're going to provide like something more concrete, like a very specific, you know, um, you know, aspect or niche in real estate that you think they should focus on. I just worry about that because that's the number one thing. And then on top of that, when you think about all this, schemes and scams that exist in that domain these days, it's so easy for somebody to then say, okay, you know what, let me go take a real estate course, right? And they don't realize like this person probably owns no properties and they're just making their bread off of this course they're selling you, right? And then you're still not going to be able to actually, do anything. So that's all I'm saying. Yeah.
No, no, I totally agree with that. I totally. But the thing is, it's a blanketed statement. Real estate, stocks, business. So I don't, because I'm not real estate person. I can't give you the specifics on what I would tell someone to do. So I kind of talked about the emotional aspect of it, right? I didn't necessarily say, I'm just saying when you're dealing with real estate, and most people when they hear real estate, they think buying a home. I think Robert Kiyosaki was talking about it. When somebody say, "Oh, you should get in real estate," they think of buying a home. They actually don't really think about all the aspects that you kind of briefly touched into. And so I'm just talking about the emotional thing when it comes to when you own something that's illiquid, as opposed to you own something that's liquid where you can get out of in 7 seconds. I think it's very, very much more likely that people are going to get out of that stock at
I
the
mean,
end of the day.
there's also you could do Airbnb too. I mean, if you don't want to necessarily buy a property,
So,
you could do
so,
rental arbitrage.
so, yeah, but most people are not skilled enough to do those things. And I'm
Right.
going to sound a little mean to say that.
Nope,
A
you're right, Aaron.
lot of this
You're right.
Airbnb stuff is a lot of people selling the ideal of doing it. I'm telling you right now, I know someone that has money to lose, and he bought a whole property right next to the airport in Texas. Right, I forget which part of Texas on the top of my head, and he wanted to set up as an Airbnb. It had a pool and all that. He was struggling, right,
Right.
and he went to one of his friends and he said, "You should try this." Now, I'm not going to tell you what he said to try. I'm going to keep that in my back pocket. Yeah, I know. I got to keep some sauce for
No,
myself.
I already know. I'm already know. But go ahead.
But so he went to one of his friends who's part of his business group, right? Because they have a group. And that's when I learned, oh, damn, this is how they really playing these games. They have a group where you get first dibs on something because it's 5, 10, 15 of you. And he said, yo, you should probably do this. He switched his business model to something else. And he said it's extremely lucrative. And so I, even through him, can say, oh, so if I get into this jam, I know that's another thing that I wouldn't have thought of to get me out of that situation. So uh, I don't think people are going to do as well on Airbnbs in the future. I think a lot of times the wave is so big, we get in too late and we get left holding the bag.
Or
And
or
so,
but not
Well, I
even
mean,
that. But
Aaron,
oh, go ahead.
go ahead, brother. My bad.
No. I was just gonna say you're right. People jump into it and they just think they gotta buy a property first off, but they're not educating themselves on what they could do, like the options that they do have. So I noticed like what you were saying. I don't want to give too much, but before you even buy your own property, you can start off just finding other landlords and figuring out what their vacancy rate is and see if you can help fulfill those people don't realize you can actually do it without getting your own property just as a starter. If you don't want to put however much down, see what areas or what apartment buildings are in your areas that aren't fully vacant or aren't fully occupied, and then see if you can, what I'm saying, contact the landlord and try to put like a addendum contract together, whatever the case may be. But yeah, you're right. Like my ex girlfriend, she had her own house and she was just Airbnb-ing it, but again, it was a lot for her. So
So,
maybe.
here's one of the reasons why I really hate a lot of like the hustle culture, like YouTube, like the YouTube, the that niche on YouTube, right? One of the reasons I hate it is because a lot of times, um, people give advice and recommendations on things, and sometimes when I listen, Aaron, I wonder if they've actually, and I'm not, for the record, I'm not talking about you, brother, like, but sometimes I wonder, like, have you actually tried this in real life, right? Because whether it's like, for example, rental arbitrage with Airbnb, right, or wholesaling, right, with real estate and whatnot, um, they just it's always like the rosy picture, right? Like nobody tells you about what it actually takes to do rental arbitrage. Nobody tells you about, okay, you need to actually find the right region, the right area, right? Because it's still an Airbnb. Then you need to be able to convince a landlord who got into becoming a landlord for very
that's a
different
fact. That's
reasons,
a fact.
than being like a short-term short-term like vacation home
Well,
style,
well,
Airbnb
think
and
about it
whatnot,
like
right?
this, JB. There are a lot of zones in a lot of cities where they don't want Airbnbs to be, right? And so a lot of people
Yep.
don't even know that you can't have an Airbnb in a certain part of the city that you're in because it's against their rules and regulations and laws. A lot of people don't research that. But even think about this. And this is what's really I read an article about this guy who did Uber, I forget what it's called, Uber luxury or something like that, right? And he bought a Mercedes, he bought something else, and Uber banned him off the app. and he had to sell at a loss because he was running his business model off of somebody else's business model. So if
Yeah.
Airbnb says we have new rules and regulation for you to use our app, what are you going to do then?
Wait,
And
Eric, hold on.
not
What
just
does that
that, not
mean?
just that. Hold up, right? Not just that. Like for example, with the rental arbitrage, with the exact example you just took, Aaron. Atlanta, for example, had actually changed the rules on Airbnbs last year, right? And if you're doing rental arbitrage, one of the ways that you convince a landlord is by basically, getting a longer term lease, for example, right? Because landlords, the killer for being a landlord, one of the killers at least, is vacancy, right? You don't want your properties to be vacant, right? Because you're not making any money. There's a holding cost, etc. So one of the keys to actually being able to convince a landlord to actually let you arbitrage their property is to basically get a longer term contract. And when I say longer term, I'm talking about 5. Some people do even 7-year leases, which is unheard of for residential, properties, right? And so when you actually go and you get a lease that long, that also means, typically speaking, you're gonna have, if you have to actually break the lease, it's gonna be a much higher cost, right? That you have to accept up front. So, anyways, I don't want to get into the needy details, right? But I'm just saying that. Um, I want to hear more of that stuff. Like if we're gonna say, hey, you go do rental arbitrage, give people the full picture of what they're actually signing up for because it sounds attractive, right? And it can be attractive if you can actually do it successfully. Not to mention actually being good on the platform, right? Because being able to do Airbnb properly means you literally are at the mercy of your guests, right? If you get even a few bad ratings, that alone could literally bring your listing so far down the totem pole that you can't even get bookings, right? So it's like there's so many things about that business that you need to understand before you can actually do it successfully. It's actually much more risky than people present it to be. So that's all
Well,
I'm saying. Is like when I listen to a lot of these conversations, or a lot of these people pitching this stuff on YouTube and whatnot, it's just not the full picture. It's always the rosy picture. It's always the
yeah, it's
you
just
can get
marketing,
rich in
bro.
one
It's
year and
marketing.
whatnot. You said what?
No, I'm saying part of you. You're right. I was just gonna add to that. Like it is marketing. Like it is to bring people in because a lot of these people too. A lot of them really want to get you to buy their course, so they're not gonna give you all the information up front. Like you're gonna have to invest, whether that you know what I mean is one-on-ones or whatever the case is. But I think most people want to get into it just because they see the money. They don't really take the time to study and invest it themselves. They just hear people's stories. They want to jump in and just invest a whole bunch of money without actually investing in
The
themselves. Like
goal for most people is to let somebody else run their life for them. Most
no,
people
correct.
don't.
That's a fact.
They don't want to get control over their own life. So you'll hear people say, "Hey, I got some money. Can you invest it for me? Can you manage it for me?" I tell people, "Hell no. You do it yourself." Because at the end of the day, nobody's going to care about your money more than you. Now, what you can have is you can have an advisor. You can have somebody you can build with. But listen, I'm gonna just tell y'all the truth. A lot of these advisor people they're not no much more smarter than you. All they're doing is following the strategy of the corporation. They say, hey, you get this particular client, this is what our company is recommending to these type clients. It's just the truth. And that's why I tell everybody if you're going to invest, you have to go to somebody that specializes in investing and investing only. I don't want to hear nothing that we do on loans. I don't care about nothing. I'm an investment specialist. Work with those type of people. Do not work with people that have a broadened business because you want people that are hyper focused on that skill set. But nobody's going to care about your money more than you. And you should want to manage it and invest it yourself, but you can do it with people that are consultants. But when you think you're going to let somebody else manage that money for you, Usain Bolt or anybody in those, you're going to get screwed. Whether you
Yeah,
understand it.
that's why I think even though you want to delegate, my viewpoint is that anything you delegate to other people, you should understand it well enough that if you actually need to do it yourself, you can do it. But it's just much more beneficial to let this other person do it, especially if obviously if they have like niche experience and whatnot, right? So like for example, could you file your taxes on your own? Like sure, right? Do you understand the tax code, or at least I mean, it changes so much that you can't really truly fully understand it. But do you understand it well enough, right? That you can at least review your return after it's filed, or even before it's filed, right? You can actually review it first and actually understand everything that's happening. Or are you just, going blind and relying on this person and not realizing like they're probably skimming money off of you, they're probably doing stuff. So I think you should at least have a decent enough understanding of whatever you're delegating for other people. um, and so you delegate for their specific skill set, right? Their niche experience, etc. Like the loopholes they may know that you don't know, but at the same time, when you need to actually inspect, you can inspect on your own.
Exactly. And most of the time, is you should have them for compliance reasons, so you make sure you're within compliance. But that's just what I noticed with a lot of people. They are too lazy to want to learn to do for themselves, and this is why we'll touch on this briefly. This is why if you give people in San Francisco $5 million, that will not fix financial literacy at all. It's actually the drug is if you want people to be financially illiterate, is to give them money. That's actually what you actually should do. It when you show up to it. Here goes some money at a job. They're giving you that money to keep you financially illiterate. That's why you see a lot of people be like, "I don't want your money. I want the information." You'll see a lot of people say, "I'll work for free." There's a reason why they do that because the money typically is your incentive to just keep doing that process to get the money. The goal is to get the information. And as long as they keep giving you money, you're going to be less incentivized to create your own freedom. And I think people, and I'm trying to get people to truly understand that wealthy people and politicians have no intentions of financing your freedom intentionally. They'll do it by accident. They accidentally help you get a $7 million lawsuit from an injury or something like that, and you know, but realistically, it's not going to happen. Yeah, that 5 million will help. I definitely will take that 5 M's, but I don't know about if they're gonna give it to me or not. But if they listen, if they give me 5 million, and if they give somebody else 5 million, it's gonna be two different outcomes. I'm just saying, giving people money is a sure way for them not to learn much.
But I also think people overlook like the actual negative social impact that it will actually have, and how that will cause more division. And then that division is, I think people don't consider how like politics thrive on division, right? They
Yep.
thrive on that because that's how you get people to vote for you and pick a side. You pick a side yourself, right? And then you basically point to the other side and say they're the enemy, right? They're evil, they're the devil. And so that's what politics thrive on. So when you decide, hey, I'm gonna basically hand over 5 million, let's say this actually goes through, right, to one specific group of people in this very large community that that has plenty of non-blacks, right? How do you think those non-blacks are gonna feel, especially the ones that weren't born with a silver spoon and had to go through shit and whatnot? And that's gonna cause some form of division. And then I think people don't actually think long term about these things. They just think, oh, money, I want it, and they don't realize like long term this may have more negative effects than the 5 million was worth. But hey, if they want their 5 million, give it to them.
I agree with you. I just think I read something in that article where it said it's going to cost the rest of the citizens $600,000 each to finance this project. So when I read that, that's projections, of course, but I agree with you. Give them the damn money to try to get this behind us and see if that's a possible step forward. But me and you both know the outcome of giving all those people $5 million. Now, I'm for it because I think they should have the right to blow the damn money if they want to, just as if their ancestors would have had land that was not taken from them, etc., and they blew the land. They should at least have the opportunity to do so. So I agree with that as well, but I don't think it's going to necessarily change the economic cycle because we both know money is going to flow to the top, and unless they plan on being at the top, it's game over. So
Yeah,
we
but Aaron, you think you said it on your the show the other day, right? The people that are getting their student loans wiped away. You're saying that those people that got the college degree, right, and they're getting their loans wiped away, they're steps ahead. So to me, that 5 million, I'm putting that on the same playing field. To me, that would be the equivalent.
I agree. The difference though between the student loans, and which I told you I'm not 100% against, but I think we need to do some adjusting for other people who had made that decision not to go. They should be compensated as well. The difference is when we talk about reparations, that is deservingly so to those people. I don't know in the form it should come. I'll take that 5 million selfishly, but I do know ultimately it will destroy. I do know that. I'm not ignorant. I know it, but it might need to happen. But I don't know if it's fair of me to say that and then I mess up the whole American system trying to get this back on track to try to get to equal ground and say we're trying to really make amends for this, even though there's no possible way. Here go this paper. Now you richer than all your neighbors and people that now that $3 million gap that the families have or whatever, we ate that. So I don't know what the actual solution is, but I'm happy that they're having a conversation. But I want people to understand that they're not going to free you. You must free yourself. And the first way to do that is to know you in the game and to play to win. And I'm not one of those people that are trying to tell everybody need to be rich. JB don't try to force everybody to be rich. Otherwise, he wouldn't be cool with me. But the key is we just want to strive for awareness. We want to strive to teach ourselves. We want to strive to stop asking other people to teach our family and do it ourselves. And once we become more advocate for self-improvement and making our own adjustments, I think we won't even ask people for stuff anymore. I think we want to do it ourselves. So what's going on, Practical? I know you come up here to say something crazy. I know you did.
What's going on, y'all? What's going on? This is a
Oh,
good.
not this damn nerd.
I hope y'all doing well. What's going on, JB?
What's up, brother?
Yeah. So, actually, this is a good segue into what I wanted to talk about. You had ended up talking about reparations. So, with what was it with Silvergate, bank collapsing, which was on the 23rd anniversary of the .com bubble, with the what is it called again? The SVB collapsing, with also Signature Bank collapsing. It was this weird commonality between all these three banks. They were all heavily invested in cryptocurrencies. There are tech businesses, and Jerome Powell said that's in that same time period of those three banks falling that oh, cryptocurrency is so volatile. We need to regulate and centralize it, right? Okay. So in light of that, right, with all these bank collapses going on in the wake of like that's like aimed at cryptocurrency, it seems as though that I would not be surprised, of course, if not only we get a centralized cryptocurrency that's highly regulated, but we'll also see the possibility of a delineation of reparations be disseminated through cryptocurrencies and whatnot. And if that does happen, like not only will Black people not have any excuse, like to be able to say, "Oh, we're left behind," all this stuff like that. But it's gonna be like the final piece of the pie, like in terms of what is required in terms of getting everything to be taxable efficiently and everything to be closely monitored. Like less than 2% of really, it's like I think it's like less than 1% of all the money that America has, is in paper. Like we have over 20.3 trillion dollars, and literally like I think like 70 billion of that or less than that is in cash. You know what I mean? So we're already pretty much out the door when it comes to having physical money and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like which is why I'm seeing that like I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to invest in these BRICS nations.
Hold on one practical. Let me just check on First Gen. What's going on, First Gen? First Gen, what's going on, bro? Mm-hmm. Can you hear me, First Gen?
Just dropping.
First Gen, I
Put
can't
them
hear
back
you.
in the bag.
Hold on, Sherelle. First Gen, can you say something for me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, there you go. I was trying to.
Oh,
I'm
my
like,
bad.
where's
Yeah, my external audio. JB knows me. JB should know my voice.
Yeah, he's cool. He's cool people. He's cool
I
people.
know the voice too. It's all good, but I gotta
Okay,
check.
okay. That's cool.
Yeah, but go. I'm sorry, Practical. You was gonna sit here and talk about whatever you was gonna talk about, but it was gonna take a long time to say. I'm gonna ask that you shorten it and become very concise.
Yeah, I'll just end with saying that like I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to invest in these BRICS nations because it seems as though that they're probably going to end up supplanting U.S. hegemony, and so that's all I'm in with.
Well, That was nerd talk. This is money talk. So I don't know what the hell you just said.
Wait, Aaron. What he just said is actually is the last part of what he said, because the crypto part, I defer with him on that. But the last part of what he said is actually a very strong point, and it's part of money talk.
I know, but he mixed it with the nerd talk. So I'm saying the nerd part, I didn't understand what he was talking about. Go ahead.
Nah,
Can
because
we perhaps
see,
talk
well,
about
I think
what BRICS is? Talk about like
BRICS it's a
for some
coalition.
people.
It's a coalition of well, I'm gonna let practical explain since he's the one who brought it up. But it's a coalition of nations, including
Yeah,
Russia, China. Go ahead, go
yeah.
ahead.
So like BRICS, like as JB said, is a coalition of various nations, and the B stands for like Brazil, R stands for Russia, I stands for India, C stands for China, and S stands for South Africa. But there are a lot of other countries that are trying to join as well. And one of the main things that I've been seeing BRICS nations do is buy a whole lot of physical assets, like gold specifically. The perfect example would be Russia, how they told their citizens to buy gold and they gave them huge incentives on buying gold. They took off a lot of tax burdens associated with buying gold and the trading of gold, which made a lot of individuals in Russia stockpile on gold.
Yeah, but there's an even bigger point, practical with BRICS.
JB, that's second level. The purpose of this show is to
All right.
simplify language, simplify conversation.
Wait. I do want to simplify this though, because I think it's important.
I don't
Right?
think you capable of simplifying nothing.
You're actually right. You're right. You're absolutely right about that.
Okay,
See,
go ahead.
no. See, this is why I actually love listening to Aaron, because Aaron is great at breaking shit down. I'm not. I'm sorry. Like I thought I was, but then I realized I'm just long winded as hell, and yeah, I can't.
So
But
J,
I'm gonna try.
so
I'm gonna
JB,
try.
Here.
question for you. So Aaron already kind of explained a little bit earlier. So if I had like, let's just say 20, 30,000, what are some good assets that you would look into with that, I guess, at this time? Because I know you talked about real estate. You got to obviously know what you're doing. But what are some assets?
He about to give you the most safest answer ever.
Wait, I
Go ahead.
have a question. Kobe Jordan, if you don't mind, let me answer this. JB, Kobe Jordan. What's your age range? What industry do you work in? Do you currently have any savings? Like, because we kind of need to know your
Yes,
profile
well,
before anyone can give advice.
no, I got you. So yeah, I'm 27. I'm getting into software, cybersecurity. I'm in sales right now. And then what was your other question, bro?
Bro, your audio is bad.
Yeah, your audio is kind of boring, but do you currently have any savings? Do you have any debt at the moment?
Hold on, can you hear me?
It's better now. But do you have any debt? Do you have any savings?
Yeah, I do got debt.
Any
I
investments?
got 20,000 in student loans right now. No car debt
What's
or
the
nothing
interest
like
rate?
that. It's like three and a half.
All right, just okay. I'm not offering financial
Can
advice,
you
but
put them on deferral?
What was that?
Can you put your student loans on deferral?
Yeah, I can.
it's a low rate, so there's not financial advice. It's a low rate, so there's no real rush to pay it off immediately at such low rates, especially given persisting inflation. All right, is any certs you can earn in your current capacity that allow you to leverage for more money?
I mean, that's the thing that I gotta talk with Anton in a couple more days, and that's what we're gonna talk about is the certifications, because I'm literally just trying to go and get the certs on my own. But he's recommended me to go to school. He said I can get the certifications while being in school, so I can
Do you
kind of
have a
knock out
college
two
degree?
birds. Yeah, I got my associates in business
Okay,
administration.
all right. Do
Search for
you know
what?
anyone who? Do you have a LinkedIn profile? Do you know anyone in real life that is in cybersecurity that you can possibly reach out to for an informational interview?
Cybersecurity, no, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't. I'm just getting into it, but I've been studying it like a lot the last 6 months, bro. So, but to be honest, bro,
Well,
I mean, I
what are you
hate
trying to
to.
get searched for though? What exactly are you trying to get searched for?
So I'm trying to get into cybersecurity, like red team, so pen testing, ethical hacker, and so I know I'm gonna need like my um, security plus, and a few other ones like my AZ 900, a few other ones. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to get into, bro.
So I mean,
So
what's your region? Are you in the East Coast, West Coast, South? Don't give your state, just the region.
I'm yeah, West.
West. All right. Look for a program in around your area that offers training in cybersecurity. You should invest in yourself at your young age. Don't worry about investments. Invest in yourself first. Invest in your health. Do you go to the gym? Are you eating well? These are all things that are important.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the stuff I already do. I guess what I'm more focused on is the route in which I'm trying to take to cybersecurity. That's really more what I'm more concerned with. All the other stuff, I'm not really concerned with. I'm in good shape.
So,
I eat good. All of that
All
good
right, so
stuff.
I got
investing
a
in
question for
stocks
you.
and all that other stuff, that's just after the fact. But you should be working on your career now so you can leverage and you can generate more income and create that gap like Aaron talked last show where the gap between your income and your expenses, it just goes ever increasingly larger and larger. And then off that, take the excess and then start investing in other places. But you need to first work on getting in that cybersecurity field. So try to invest that 20, 30K. I don't know what type of schools they have available. Certs you have to pay, pay for a course to pass these certs. And then
Yeah, yeah.
talk to someone in real life, though. You need to have a person you can contact in real life, have a phone number who's an expert in cybersecurity that can give you their time and interview them on how the steps or the path you need to take. Because you're 27, you're nearing 30. You don't got as much time as you think you do to make that type of change.
No, and that's another reason why I'm not trying to take the college route because I know that's going to kind of slow it down a little bit. But it is what it is. I got to do what I got
You
to
have
do.
an associate in
So
cybersecurity is
you
one of
don't
those
you don't
fields where if you have
necessarily
certs,
have
you'll be all
to
right. Yeah.
you don't necessarily have to get certs though. It depends on the path that you actually plan on
Mhm.
taking. So, um, like it depends. It really depends on the path. Like that's probably the safest path is going and getting the certs, and it's the safest, it's the slowest path. But if you have some hustle in you, you don't actually need to go get certs. So, for example, um, in tech in general, a lot of tech is about proving yourself, right? It's about actually being able to prove yourself on the spot. Can you pass an interview, right? Can you prove that you have this knowledge? Like actually prove it, not just talk about it. Um, so, for example, in cybersecurity, have you gone to any security conferences, cybersecurity conferences? Have you gone into, have you done any capture the flag type of programs, right? And those programs, like you can actually find a lot of them. You can find some of them that you can even do online. They call capture the flag programs, for example. And you can be a beginner and you'll join a team, and and you can actually learn as you actually hack away at solving a specific problem. But what I'm getting at is that like a lot of this stuff, it really depends on which path you want to take. Um, if you can actually learn by doing, um, that's actually a really great position. And as you learn by doing, especially if you're interacting with other people. So, for example, if you're actually doing capture the flag programs with other people, those people become part of your network, and they're already in the field, right? And those people, if you actually can, get better along the way, they'll still watch your progression, and they can actually help you get into certain roles, help be a reference for you, et cetera, et cetera. So there are different ways to approach this. It's just a matter of how much hustle you got in you, how non-traditional are you willing to go, or how safe do you want to go.
That's interesting. You say I don't really need search because I mean that's one of the things that I was really more focused on because when they're looking at your resume, I mean it stands out, especially like if you have a few. You don't need to have a whole bunch, but if you have a couple certs and then you've done projects, because that's another thing I'm focused on is the projects. That's really what
That's
I'm
my
more.
point.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
point is the project. So, for example, let me tell you something, right? So, if I was looking at a resume, right, and I see that you have all these certs versus I'm looking at somebody else's resume and I see that they've done this bug bounty and this bug bounty and they were able to find this security bug and this security bug, that the person that has real like a link to like, and because the bug bounties are online, right? Like a link to an actual
Right.
security bug that they found, that person is infinitely more attractive to you than you, right? Because that person that's real world proof of their ability to actually do the job, right? It like the certificate, just like a degree, doesn't really tell me that you can actually do the job. But if you're able to, and bug bounties, there's no like requirement, a degree requirement or anything like that, for you to be able to do those things, right? So that's why again, there's the project route, especially these days in tech in general, right? There's the project route of going about things, and then there's the more traditional. Let me go get the degree. Let me try to get a brand name attached to my name, right? So maybe let me try to get a job at Google, an internship at Google, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or let me actually have enough projects, right? A portfolio, right? Like if you're just going for software engineering, let me have a portfolio. Let me have a GitHub profile with work on it, etc. That tends to be more attractive to most companies, especially smaller companies. Um, it tends to be way more attractive to see proof of work rather than just here's a bunch of things I'm listing on my resume.
Hey,
Well,
JB. So, like, It's given a realistic time frame. Is it 6 months to a year he can accomplish all this? All right. What are 3 and 4 bullet points that he can have as achievables within the 6 months to 1 year time frame, as he makes his transition to the cybersecurity field, or if does it take longer to make that sort of transition?
I couldn't really tell him because it depends on his work ethic, right? It depends
Okay.
on like how much he's willing to like I personally don't think it would take just 6 months, even a year to be honest, but it really depends on his work ethic. Like
Well, guys, I heard something in this exchange. Kobe Jordan, do you have children?
No children, bro. No children.
Okay, so first gen, don't scare him and say he ain't got that much time left. A lot of the issues that we have is sometimes we limit just how much time we can put in something. We can be an expert at anything if we put 15 years and solely focusing on that one thing, no matter what field is in, whether we didn't know nothing about cybersecurity, whether we knew nothing. If we focus on that for 15 years, we could all be an expert in anything. So I don't want you guys to like put a pressure on a time frame. I would tell you if you took 6 years to learn all this, but you actually did it in 6 years, you have unlimited upside after those 6 years.
Well,
So
and see, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I don't want you to feel that you have to rush these next year or 2, 3 years. If you can get it done 4 or 5 years, don't let it limit you, because once you do acquire it, once you do get it done, the upside is going to forever be there because you have acquired that skill. So
And
and
all I
just
was gonna
make sure that as you do it, you're actually being social, right? Like you can't do this stuff like just sitting behind a computer, bro. I'm telling you this right now. Like you have to actually go out there, go to meetups, go to hackathons. I don't know if you know about
trust me.
hackathons.
I'm a
Um,
networker, bro.
like
That's what I
like
do.
but again, one of the key things again in tech, I want to make this clear again, is doing, right? So I'll give you an example, right? Like one of the first professional jobs I had was actually when I was around 15, 16, right? Believe it or not. And it was this company called right fuck, I forgot the name of the company, but the guy who hired me was Jack Allen Ferry. Y'all can look him up. Race Menu, there we go, Race Menu. The company is called Race Menu. This company called Race Menu, and this guy named Jack, he hired me, right? And how he actually met me was at a hackathon. There was a hackathon happening in the Seaport area in Boston, and I went to the hackathon. And for those who don't know what a hackathon is, what did Aaron type in the chat? Aaron is silly. So yeah, I went to this hackathon, and it was a mass challenge hackathon, and he was running his company Race Menu at the time, and he needed a developer, right? And basically, they decided to build something during the hackathon. So hackathons are like, it's like a little conference that developers get together and they build a product over a weekend. And he met me there, and I helped them build what they were building that weekend. And he ended up just hiring me after that. So while I was in high school, I would literally leave high school to go work for him as an intern after school, right? But part of what I learned from a lot of that experience was basically just building your network, right, over time, right? So a lot of times, like I could have just been at home and coding from home, but I preferred to be in the mass challenge space because there's all these entrepreneurs, all these different people working there and whatnot. And I met so many people, right, from those days that some of those people to this day we're still connected. Even if we haven't spoken in years, I know for a fact I could probably hit them up and they would hook me up, etc. So you cannot do a lot of this stuff. You cannot do behind the screen. Like you have to be out there. People have to see you doing the work. Not just networking. Networking is just shaking hands and talking, right? But if people can actually see you doing the work, right? That's why working for startups, for example, is like really dope because people can actually see you do the work, especially for a small company, et cetera, et cetera. Like, but people got to see you doing the work, and as they see you doing the work, you build a network that way. And so now people know both, like, hey, he's capable, but also I know him, right? Like, and I can vouch for him, et cetera. And those people become references, and you'd be surprised how many doors you can get through that you don't think you could get through because you don't have this credential or that credential. But guess what? You know somebody that worked there, and that person can open that door for you.
And really that was the big question that I had this whole time, is because I know I can get my foot in the door. I know I'm going to study. I know my personal work ethic. But my biggest thing was when I do get so far, are they going to say, hey, you know what? We're comparing two candidates, but this guy actually has, this 4-year degree, computer science. He went through the traditional route. Is that going to kind of disqualify me from moving up in the long term? I guess that was my question. So me more focused on getting into the door. I know kind of what I need to do to get started, get into the door. It's just moving up in the ranks. That was my biggest
Kobe
concern.
Jordan, I would say this, and this is not my space of expertise. I have none. This is all entertainment purposes only. I would say this: do everything you can to eliminate all the excuses that they can have. If you eliminate the excuses that they can have, the less likelihood you have of someone turning you down. If you give them opportunity to turn you
Right.
down and say, because of this and because of that, you open the door for it. But when you eliminate those options, you go, well, you ain't got that many options now. So it kind of puts it back in your favor when you eliminate options to disqualify you.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Right.
I agree with that.
And Tam
Hey,
actually
Kobe
said
Jordan, all
something.
you need is one.
Tam
though.
said something important. Go
Wait,
ahead, my
Jen,
bad.
what did you say, first Jen?
And says always important stuff. What you said was
First Jen, what did you say? I didn't hear you.
I was gonna say all you need one roll at a time. Just look at it that way, right? Just pace yourself step by step, and life
Yeah.
life is not linear, right? It's not like every day you're gonna improve.
And
Some
the thing
days
is,
you're gonna have some peaks, some days you're gonna have some valleys, but over time you will see improvement if you look back.
and that's the thing. Like, I'm not in a super duper rush. It's just that I kind of, start to fall in love with this space. Like, just me learning and just doing a lot of things. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't want to get too much of my background history, but I got into this space like, not doing the right things. Let's just say that. So now I'm
that's
starting to
the end
learn.
of the show right now. All right,
So
that's it.
yeah,
You done. You done, Kobe Jordan. So first Jim, what
So
you got?
something else.
we off
Some,
you. You chilling. You chilling.
something else that
no,
Tam
hey, listen, I'm
mentioned.
chilling now. I'm good. We're good now. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
So something else that Tam mentioned, right? Tam mentioned speaking at conferences. That this is huge in tech, right? People underestimate like how many opportunities you can get just by speaking at conferences. And the beauty of it is there's always a conference going on. Like if you actually go and look up conferences going on, and whether like whether you're in cybersecurity or you're in front end development, back end web development, JavaScript, like pretty much any domain, there's always a conference going on, right?
yep.
And people go and you want to go to physical conferences. These days they have these remote virtual ones. Like it's not really that useful, right? But if you want to go, you want to find the ones that are physical that you actually have to go in person. And people underestimate what values and like what benefits you can actually get by just speaking at a conference. And the beauty of it is you don't actually have to be an expert off rip, right? Like you can find topics that as you learn, right? As you learn, as you build yourself, right? Um, find topics that you're getting better at, you're learning and whatnot, and go to this conference and speak about that and teach other people, right? Teach people what. In fact, you could even do a talk about here's what I've learned in the past year of learning how to become a cybersecurity engineer, something like that, right? Like you might think your talk is not useful, but there's somebody in the audience, right, that appreciates your talk. On top of that, a lot of these conferences, right, there's tons of recruiters, tons of engineering managers at these conferences, tons of people, decision makers who actually are sitting there in your audience and you don't even realize it, and they're looking at you and they have an opportunity for you, right? I've gotten an actual job literally from speaking at a conference before. Like this job I had for this company called AI Squared. They met me. One of the guys there met me literally while I was giving a talk about TypeScript, the programming language. I was giving a talk about TypeScript. He came to my talk. He was sitting like 2 seats across from me. And after the talk, he basically walked up to me and said, "Hey, you seem really knowledgeable about TypeScript, et cetera, et cetera." And long story short, I ended up working for that company, right? So you'd be surprised how many opportunities you can get just by speaking at conferences. A lot of them.
That's a
And
good
all
point.
these
That's a
people,
very good point.
everybody you shake hands with, connect with them on LinkedIn. Find out, how you could be useful to other people. That's the other thing too. Is a lot of people just love to take. Um, People rarely find somebody that says, "Hey, like, how can I help you?" Right. So, like, if you can find ways to help other people, right, to contribute to other people, they'll never forget that. They'll never ever forget that. People do not forget that because it's so rare. They'll never forget that.
Right. Oh,
Yeah, and
one more.
Kobe Jordan, just one thing, right?
Yeah.
Don't suffer from and we all possibly can fall into this pitfall. So if it's not just you, it can be just anyone. Don't fall into the analysis paralysis when it comes to your career. Don't feel as if you need all the answers today to get the ball rolling. That's not necessary at all.
Gotcha. No, I
You got to
appreciate
do
that, bro.
one step, just one step at a time. And the summation of that via compound interest is going to lead to greater outcomes. Don't feel as you need to know all the answers. Like what JB said, go to these conferences, put your name out there, get that one role, get your foot in the door,
Okay, no, I
hunker
appreciate
down, grind,
that's dope, man.
and then over time, more opportunities should be available to yourself as long as you keep on self improvement. Keep on learning.
Yeah, no doubt. First Gen is on point on that. Let me shout out to my guy Jack. He said, support to your favorite content creators. Get them likes up. They never get the likes up. Shout out to JB. I never gave you your flowers. Congrats on the marriage. He's out. Yeah. Shout out to you, Jack. I appreciate it. Also, shout out to my
Thank you,
guy,
brother.
Young Investor. Hold on 1 second. Shout out to my guy, Young Investor. He been rocking out with me from the very beginning. We used to always just chop it up in the chats. Very, very, very intelligent young brother. He will be madly successful in life. I will one day be working for him. So I just want to make sure he knows I recognize him and that, I know I'll be working for you one day. So respect to you. I appreciate you, bro. I really love these conversations. Oh, they give you a buzz for me.
Oh yeah, Aaron, you
What's
gotta
crazy?
catch.
What's
Hey,
crazy though, Aaron, is that most you realize that you're not gonna get as many hits, like
nah.
unless you're having dick and pussy conversations. Shout out to Logic. You're not gonna get as many hits. I learned this the hard way when I was doing my show.
Yeah,
Every
Wait,
like I
wait,
tried
wait.
to.
Quick point of reference. This is all black men in the panel.
yes, sir.
This is amazing, right? 12 after 12 black men chopping up game and networking and leveling up. I like that.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
I tried, Aaron. I tried 2 times on my show when I was on my show, and it was like a noticeable difference, like how many people, uh, checked into those shows, right? People,
yeah.
and it's funny because it shows you that people don't truly actually care about this stuff as much as they pretend to, or they're just lazy and they just want other people to do it for them.
Well, these shows are harder to do because I understand I have to craft the conversation in a way that I can get people to realize. But when I say these things like, we asking for raises actually cause this stuff, people are like, what the hell are you talking about? But I have to break it down to the impact of when you do this, this is the outcome. This is how this impacting. This leads to this. It's not easy to do. Like I put a lot of work into these conversations and into how I express things. But I also know that it's not for everybody. And think about it. We have 140 people in here. Now, most of the time, if I'm doing more fun shows, less stressful shows, because people don't want to deal with the stresses of life. I had to learn that. People don't want to deal with that. I understand why people do a lot of drugs and drink a lot of alcohol. I truly understand the reasoning and impact of that. They don't want to deal with it. So when they say, Anton, everybody don't want to be rich, I 100% agree. And because there are just certain conversations that they uncomfortable with having, they come on YouTube to be entertained. I get that. And so that's why you have to have certain monetary thresholds to say, hey, show me you really want to do this. Like, because this takes a lot of time out of my schedule. Now, my time ain't as valuable as a lot of other people's time, but I value my time. And so I understand why people charge for certain things, but I also see a lot of people taking advantage of people with information that is probably not as valuable, but they're just trying to funnel you to courses. So, but I love
Aaron,
these conversations, bro. I just do.
so Aaron, it kind of go back to what Obama had famously said in one of his speeches that the public at large is like frankly too stupid to govern themselves. They need this is from his mouth. They need like basically a entity to be able to like guide them on their way to be able to how to think and how to operate. So
We've always run society on a hierarchy of intelligence and brilliance and competence. It's always been this way. That's why most successful, filthy rich people are invisible. Even people with somebody that's worth $3 billion that could walk past you and wouldn't have no idea who they are. They're
that's a
invisible.
fact.
They craft the world. It's like we've always run this way. It's just social media has allowed all of us to talk to each other, allow all of us to congregate in a space in which we normally wouldn't, and we're sharing information and people are going, oh, that's what they're doing to us. And so there is an awakening, but realistically, most of the time, a small amount of people have always governed over the world and governed over the people in society and protected them when they didn't even know they were being protected. Of course, some part of it is exploiting. I'm not going to disagree with that, but There are going to be phenomenal, great people with money and horrible people with money. We're never going to get rid of those battles. And so I accept that. It's just in this particular space, YouTube is entertainment. I don't care what anyone says. There is a real component to it, but people come on here to be entertained. I'm not ignorant of that, but I really do think having these conversations, saying one thing for somebody to go, oh, I never thought about it like that, means a lot to me, because when people done that for me, it totally changed my trajectory from possibly never thinking I could do something to knowing I can do something. So I owe that to people, even though I know that this won't get the most views, this won't get the most support, and all those type of things, but it's worth it because I think a lot of people had a lot of fun in this conversation and they learned something. So
Well, and the thing is, you're not gonna have as many people for one, just because it forces people, like you said, to actually sit down and to critically think about their own lives, right? Like another thing I think you said earlier is somebody brought up the food that we eat, like what foods are eaten. Bro, my goal this year is to cut out sugar, right? I literally have went to every vegan store in my area, bro. And even there's sugar in everything, bro. I cannot find. I found zero sugar lemonade. That's it, bro. All the food has 8 grams of sugar. And I'm just like,
Yo,
bro, I literally went, I'm gonna just say this because I know I'm a little off topic, but I went on a 10-day sugar fast. And on that 10th day, I just like, you know what, let me eat a cookie. I ate one cookie, bro. And I literally
and relapse.
my head was banging. And I literally I took like an hour nap after that. Like just one, it's just crazy, bro. Like I can't
yo,
figure out how to stop eating
Are
sugar.
you
yo,
familiar
yo,
with big? Are
coach.
you familiar with Big Sugar?
No, I'm not. No.
Okay, because what you're describing is, I mean, there's actually a great documentary on this that
No,
breaks down.
no, 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 no.
Hold up, Aaron.
Ah,
Listen, there's a great documentary on this though that breaks down like Big Sugar is like this almost invisible entity, right, to most people. But just like we talk about the military-industrial complex and the private prisons and whatnot, there's a whole industry when it comes to sugar, right? And they have lobbying power. Um, I mean, it's bigger than people realize, and there's a whole documentary on it that breaks it down. And to me, it was very intriguing, but it's probably boring to most people.
Yo, Kobe Jordan. I will say that despite you saying that there the downsides of eating sugar, you have a lot of validity in your points. The average American eats about 150 grams of sugar a day. I mean, a year. Sorry, 150 pounds of sugar a year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Um, and it does lead to a lot of comorbidities. However, the idea of drinking zero sugar drinks that are flavored with sucralose and aspartame have been shown over a long time. Doctors have been cooperating with this that it can cause cancer. So it's arguable that sucralose and aspartame is even worse than glucose. The important thing is that you do not want to have a high insulin resistance. You do not want to overwork your body and have too much sugar, because too much sugar in the body and the chronic level can cause blood cells to get sticky, and it can lead to clotting, and also can mess up your internal organs on many ways. But what I will say is that a way to counteract that is to increase your fiber intake. So okay, so when you eat a fruit, right? Let's imagine you eating an orange.
oh
If
no,
you
no, 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 no. We're not
This
about to go into
real
conversation
this.
quick,
is
real
for
quick, real quick,
entertainment
Well,
just
well,
purposes
well,
real quick.
let me
only.
No,
say this
no,
before we
Okay,
move
this is
on,
for
no,
bro.
entertainment purposes
no.
only.
Aaron,
I just
can you
got, I
share?
just hear
Aaron,
me. Just
Aaron,
give
can
me,
you share
just give
that
me,
link
give
for
me
me?
1 minute. Just
Because
give me
I'm on
1 minute.
mobile.
All
I'll
right,
just say this.
Can you
I'll
share with
just
our
give me
leads the
one
link
minute.
I just posted?
Aaron's about to go to
Yeah,
sleep. Go ahead.
just like I understand this is money talk and whatnot, but this does health is a sort of it's economic components to health, but just hear me out real quick.
you
So
don't have the ability to contrast that and make that come together in a conversation. No, no, you
not like I
Well,
cannot.
well,
can. You're right. You're right. I
Aaron,
can't
let
do
me
it. I
just say
can't
this
do that.
really
But
quick, really
And
quick.
I
let me say it
listen.
real
I
quick though.
only
Let me say
got a
that this
couple
is very
minutes
health.
before I end the stream. I only got a couple minutes.
Yeah, I just gotta
Okay,
say one
I'll
thing
end
to
with this.
counter
I'll
his
end with
point though.
this. I'll end with this, right? So, like an orange, right? If you eating an orange, you would think that eating an orange is the same as squeezing three or something oranges and drinking it, right? But you would be wrong, right? Because squeezing the oranges and drinking the juice, you're devoid. You're not taking in the fiber, and you need fiber as a means to process sugar. If you have a nice uptake of fiber, you get to process as much sugar as possible so that you do not absorb as much of it into your body.
Don't tell any woman that on a date. She was
Okay, so Aaron, let me just say
yeah,
this, just to counter his
I'm
point really
married
quick.
anyways.
I'm gonna just finish with this. I hear what you're saying. Is it practical absolutes? So yeah, practical. I hear what you're saying, but I disagree when one thing you said. You said the best way is to increase your fiber intake and to decrease your carbohydrates. I actually disagree with that. I think the best way to counter that is by intermittent fasting. So that's what I do. I intermittent fast, which is something that most people don't want to have the discipline to do. So I try to do like the 18-hour, 16-hour window. And so that's like the best way. Since I've been doing that for the last 6 months, to me, that's been the best solution. I was just speaking to like when you do grocery shop, no matter where you go, there's going to be your regular sugars plus the added sugars and a lot of stuff. So it's almost impossible to find food without sugar completely.
No,
Like
we're
most
not
foods
Yo,
gonna
are going to
Aaron.
have some
Yo,
sort of
Aaron.
sugar.
no,
Yo,
we're
Aaron.
not about to compete
Good
for who
point.
has the
No, no,
Ramadan
no,
greatest
is
Aaron.
coming up.
Aaron.
so
So
will not let it go. So I'm
Aaron,
not about to do it.
Aaron, I'm about to drop off, but I did want to say this to Kobe before I drop off, real quick. So, just again, I just want to stress to you, brother, like the just the power of actually building things, right? Well, cybersecurity is a bit different because it's more like um, it's less of like building a project like you would do with software engineering, and more about like proving that you can actually, for example, do pen testing or whatnot. But I just want to point out to you that when I think about like some of the best interviews that I've had, both as the interviewee and the interviewer, it's when you have a project of your own or several projects of your own, and you can just sit there and talk about something you built, right? Those tend to be the best. In fact, I've had interviews, right, where I had an outline, like I had a set number of things I wanted to discuss with this interviewee, and I wanted to, let's see if he can, let's see if he understands this concept and this concept. And by the end of the interview, we only touched on like maybe two of the things in my outline, but I got a better gauge of their skill set based on something they built because it was so intriguing that we had a long conversation about something they built, and they broke down, why did you pick this technology over this technology, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to make sure, like, please don't underestimate, how important it is to be able to show your work. Like
Got
that's
you.
way more important than any degrees, any certificates. These days, there's a caveat here, but I just want to say if you have the proof, right, the work that you can show,
Yeah.
most people these days in tech don't even pay attention to the education section of your resume.
Wow. Hey, I just want to say I appreciate you for saying that from you actually being in the space because I don't know too many people in the space. So I just want to say I appreciate that because I was literally like scrambling trying to figure out like what's my next move. So, I kind of have a better idea now. And so, yeah, I appreciate that, bro.
You got it, brother.
No doubt. First Gen, what you got for me before we get up out of here, bro?
Yeah, as I said first, thank you, Aaron, for allowing me on your platform and to give words of advice to Kobe Jordan. JB, I said in the chat, but congratulations on your marriage. And also your words
Thank
of
you,
advice,
brother.
Kobe Jordan. I would say this, when you make these changes in your life, it's going to be positive, right? However, you might have to drop some people. I'm just gonna keep it real. Some people around you not gonna be there on your journey, right? But just understand it's your journey and just keep moving forward, and you'll find your destination, right? But the goal is to keep on moving, right? Even in setbacks, keep moving forward, and you will get to the destination. That's all.
No doubt, man. I appreciate you guys coming up. We're gonna end the show. Thank you guys so much for coming up. I appreciate y'all. Listen, this has been another edition of the Aaron O Show, specializing, focusing, narrating the conversation on the economy about money talk. I apologize. I'm not 100%, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Okay, my voice is coming back. I'm getting all that stuff flushed out of my body so I can be 100% because listen, the work got to get done. I don't take no days off. Every day we keep grinding. Every day we keep pushing. Everybody else that want to take days off, that's how we get ahead. So while they sleeping, we awake. We grinding. I want to appreciate everybody that rocked out with us today. Make sure you leave a comment, leave a like. Let me know what else you guys want to talk about. Anything talk about the economy, I love to talk about. It's what I really truly love to talk about. I don't know everything, but I'm willing to start the conversation, to get you guys involved, to give you a perspective, to share your perspective, to bring people together, because these conversations are important. You need to know where you're getting attacked from. Politicians, wealthy people, don't matter. Know how to defend yourself so you can go on the offensive, right? Know the importance of paying yourself first. Your future self will thank you so much more because money means nothing right now. Your health is everything. You can jump, you can run. Your future self is who really needs you, and that's who you want to focus on as well. Delay this gratification. You don't need all this extra stuff. It will change your life when you start to be more prudent about your future and also about the people that you bring into this world, unless you don't want those kids, because then they say F them kids, right? But in all seriousness, I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Thank you, everybody that came up on the panel. JB, First Gen, Kobe, Jordan, Sherelle. Thank you for looking out for me as always. We're going to keep pushing the conversation. That's all we're here to do. So yeah, let me know what you guys want to talk about. If you guys have any pointers on how you want these conversations to go, because this is for y'all. I keep telling I would have these conversations by myself off screen or with somebody in real. This is for y'all to bring us together in a space. And it's gonna be a small group because it ain't gonna be like them other shows, but I don't care. This is what it's about at the end of the day when people crying. What's the solutions? What can we do? We talk about them. This ain't for everybody, this for us. So I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much for the support. It means a lot. Shout out again to Young Investor. I really, really, really dope, brother. Really, really dope. Quiet, but he's always been supporting me, man. Man, I ain't gonna lie. I smiled like intensely when I saw that name popped up. So shout out to you, bro. But we're gonna get up out of here. We will have another edition. I don't know when soon because it's harder to come up with these conversations to craft them a certain way. But I will continue to try because at the end of the day, it ain't about me. It's about y'all, and I know that. So I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much. We're gonna get up out of here. Make